the field through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shots of the entire season.
Towards the Niki Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash.
2 wide now, door to door. Max Verstappen to Vanderdantis. Max Verstappen able to safely rejoin. Slots it right in front of another car.
Carousel immediately, he gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone off, he's been tapped, and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin, oh no!
Dean, oh Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lawlem does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lawlem seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lawlem takes it.
Miranda Pedro Zuba into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers, coming up to the cutting.
David Todd making his way back up, is already climbed 7 positions.
Oh, I spoke too soon there. Sandy goes off.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Todd passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to leave? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Todd right now going into the pit lane.
we go, racing for heat number 1 here in Austria. Over AMX20 in towards the Niki Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash. That's a huge lunge from Gaston Calabi, and he's made contact with, I believe, wow, it's a chaotic moment here. No slipstream in front for either car, and you can just see Peter Silva pushing Florian Labigra right over.
Here we go then, Valeri, he looks left, he looks right, he's getting through the right hand side, which is the inside going 8 to 10-3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. It's looking like it's only going one way. David Dott is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Dott has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
And a big good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Italy, home of good food, fast cars, and some brilliant motorsport. And we are here for 2 TCR races tonight. One at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, or known to the common man as Imola. And then we head over to Mugello in a couple of hours' time for 2 more TCR races then. But race 10 of AMX season, and it has been a barnstormer so far, folks. My name is Evan Dalton. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening and joining along as he has probably the last 5 of my appearances. It is Kevin Garcia, and Kevin, we should have some brilliant action tonight.
Absolutely, Evan. I know every single time that we come out to Italy, all of these Italian tracks, you know it's going to be great racing, close racing, especially what we've got to already see so far this season and in previous seasons in the TCR vehicles. There's going to be a lot of door banging, a lot of bumper to bumper action. So I know this is going to be a good one.
Yes, it is going to be very interesting. We have a lot to run through, but first, of course, a reminder to check out all our social media channels that you can see at the bottom of your screen. Plenty of content going over there, and of course, make sure you do check out amxrace.com as well. Kevin, TCR, I suppose, a bit of a different class than maybe GT3 or GT4. It sort of has its own identity.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things right away off the bat is just these vehicles being front-wheel drive. These drivers have to come in here and just the way they approach the track, the way they approach the cars, have to have a different mentality than they might in, like you mentioned, something such as a GT4, GT3, even a open-wheel car. I know there's a lot of drivers out here specialized in open-wheel vehicles, still coming out here, putting it down pretty good so far in the TCR vehicles. But of course, I know the one man that has been on a lot of people's mind has been Corentin Guinez. So putting on an absolute great show so far, being the class leader for AMX10. We'll have to see if he's able to come out here and do it again.
Yes, as I'm sure many a rapper said once upon a time, he's back like he never left, and we will see him in qualifying in a couple of moments. But before we get to that and run you through the car and track, a little bit of housekeeping to run through. The AMX Racing World Championship Season 6 started on September 7th and it'll end on November 17th. There is an $11,000 prize pool and some next level racing gear. The race format here for AMX10, we have a 20-minute qualifier, then a top 15 reverse grid, then we'll have a 30-minute heat number 1, reverse the grid again, and then a 30-minute heat number 2. The prize amounts for every standing is the same for every session. Driver cams required as always, so we get to see those brilliant sim rigs, and balances over $100 will be paid out each month. And racing, of course, on Saturday and Sunday. We'll run you through the timings for those in a moment, but if you want to race anytime, you can sign up at amxrace.com. Here is the schedule then, of course. We have one weekend AMX0 and AMX5 action on the Saturday at 5:50 p.m. GMT and 7:10 p.m. GMT, and then we have AMX10 on the Sunday, 5:50 p.m. and then 7:30 p.m. And then the next weekend, of course, you'll still have your AMX0 and your AMX5 on the Saturday, but it'll be an AMX15 Enduro on the Sunday, and that will start at 5:50 p.m. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for them. We had the first one of them last week. Very intriguing endeavour. The prize pool here for AMX10, of course, it is $15 for a session win, whether that be the fastest in qualifying or a win in either of our two heats. Then it runs down as follows: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 460, 450 I should say, 4, 353, 252, 151, and then $2 for the fastest lap in a race. No bonus, obviously, for the fastest lap in qualifying. Minimum road iRacing needed for this, 3,000, and that's because there is a total $500 being handed out per race. Through a little bit more about Imola and our TCR car, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin.
Yeah, like we said, out here in Italy all day today. First stop is Imola, the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Dino Ferrari. But like we said, short Imola, known for the nearby city of Imola. Out in Italy, built in 1953, it boasts a track length of just about 4.9 kilometers, which is just over 3 miles for all of my fellow Americans out there. So definitely a little bit longer of a track for these cars out here today. And speaking of the cars, we've already said it, but the TCR vehicles, the front wheel drive beast of a vehicle, not crazy high horsepower, but just enough to put on one of the best shows we've ever seen, ranging anywhere from 315 to 350 horsepower, going straight through those front wheels, and of course weighing anywhere between 1,200 and 1,500 kilograms, all through a sequential gearbox. So great racing out here, Evan. Like we said, we'll have to see. We got a preview of what this season is to hold a couple of weeks ago when we were out in the UK. So the UK put on some great shows, of course, Silverstone back then, but today probably two of the most famous racetracks in all of Europe, I'd say, that we're going to be at today.
Yeah, two tracks that have been visited by AMX in the recent past, I suppose, Imola and Mugello. Imola, of course, 4.909 kilometers through just over 3 miles, 19 corners, 10 to the left and 9 to the right. And if you manage to grab pole here, you'll be starting from the left-hand side, which is fairly unusual for a motorsport circuit. The cars on display here, of course, the TCR cars. 4 of them in iRacing, but only 2 of them on display in the first heat tonight, certainly. That is the Hyundais and the Hondas. Now, there is technically 2 Hyundais, but most of them do go for the Elantra variant rather than the Veloster. And then the Honda is, of course, the Honda Civic FKA TC, or it is Honda's second attempt at making a TCR car. It's the shortest frame in this class, 4.5 meters. And why it's been chosen specifically for Imola is it very much suits lower speed scenarios, and it is very agile in slow corners, stable over the curbs, very easy to balance. A popular choice here tonight, and currently the one on pole position in the form of Kieran Harrison, but we still have plenty of time to go, 11 minutes to be exact. If you'd like to access your timing screen, you can do so on the right hand side.
And speaking of drivers out here, so Kieran, like you mentioned, sitting in that pole position so far. Best qualifier. We are almost halfway through this qualifying session, but nonetheless, it is the man that has been leading so far. Corentin Guinez looking like he is not out on track out here in this first race of the day. So we'll have to see if he's going to show up later on, or if perhaps he's going to be out here. The 2 teammates, Kieran Harrison and Corentin Guinez, of course, they are both absolute monsters out here in the TCR vehicles. A bit of a TCR specialist, each of them, if you'd say. So definitely not a surprise to see Kieran Harrison out here leading so far. But close by in second place, we have Gael Valero, who, and no matter what vehicle that he is in, you know he is going to be putting on a show. So Gael Valero currently sitting in about 4th position in the overall AMX10 standings, as well as a couple drivers that are also not here as well. The likes of Dino Felipa, Aaron Vasquez, currently also in your top 3 for AMX10. So we should definitely see, this is great news looking like for Gael Valero. Plenty of opportunity for him to shoot right to the top of the leaderboards after today.
Yes, you've seen Victor Miranda there. He's jumped up to 2nd position. We're currently on board Gaston Kilhavy, who went purple in that first sector. Purple means you've gone quickest overall. Green means the quickest of your attempts. And Gaston Kilhavy, 6th overall last season in the AMX Championship. Overall in the AMX10s this season, he's a little bit below that, but we'll be looking to try and bump up the order sooner rather than later. And as we cross through the halfway mark of qualifying, still got to get some big times put in. You can see Kolhavi really slowing it down through the Vavatsa section of the circuit, out through turn number 18 and then blasted towards the start finish line. Well, nope, because he has pulled into the pit lane, so the number 10 doesn't fancy that lap despite improving upon it, and he's followed in by one of his teammates behind. So Kieran Harrison, quickest of the order so far. Then it's Victor Miranda. Gael Valero back out on track in 3rd. Jackson Resenje 4th. And then it's Bruno De Carmo, who's in 5th.
And as you mentioned, the 2 teammates that are out here today, this is one of those tracks definitely going to be very beneficial to have your teammate, especially once you hit that long back straight. It's going to be the perfect opportunity for that draft. So out here in qualifying with all of the vehicles on track, definitely going to be able to help. Hey, you get out there with your teammate, have a little bump draft. Sorry, out on the home stretch. I was looking at the map upside down. But out there, yeah, like I said, with your teammate, just be able to come into qualifying, having one more person to be able to share a little bit of that draft, being able to just get a few tenths of a second more can be absolutely wonders. Can mean you're in the top 3 in qualifying, or you're in the bottom 3 out here. And so far, there's a pretty decent gap between our drivers towards the back of the pack. But like I said, there's still plenty of time for them to get there. I see Pedro Dean now improving on his time. So less than a second currently between our top 8 drivers.
Yeah, and Gael Valero, of course, Season 6 now is a 2-time AMX champion, winning in Season 4 and in Season 5. He accumulated over $1,200 last season. He milks the bucket fairly dry, and Kyle Mann, who wants to do it all again, only French driver here this evening, so looking at reputation well. In towards the first corner then, this is the Variante Umbrella, relatively newly refurbished after that horror weekend in Imola. You want to exit out of turn number 4 and down towards the Variante Villeneuve, named after Gilles, of course. This is a quick flick to the left, and then you're heavy on the brakes, rotating in to the right, and try use as much of this curb on the outside as possible to minimise the run. Then you're in towards the Tosa corner. We might be able to see some overtaking here. Famous moves here, such as Juan Pablo Montoya trying to fling it around the outside of Michael Schumacher to no avail, and he wasn't able to get the run up the hill. Gael Valero, however, absolutely has. This is in towards Piratella, the left-hander. You just want to commit as much as you can into here. You can kind of extend on the exit a little bit, as you see Valero opting to. So well that you've got that option. Then it's down towards Aqua Minerale, turn number 11, 12 and 13. This is a downhill right-hander into an uphill right-hander. Some say the most difficult section of corners on the circuit. If you miss your braking there, you will not only make the right-hander, you will end up in a little bit of a beach on the exit. Then it's into the Variante Alta, the turn 14, 15 chicane. Try to cut as much of the inside as you can. You almost want your car to leave the road surface there over the big curbs. Just try push it as much as possible. And it is a mini straight down towards the left-hander of Rivazza. We won't get that far though. Valero has backed out of his time.
So just like that, currently Gael Valero, of course, sitting in third place with a 155.056. Still incredibly close times between the top three, and it's just as I say that, I see Kieran Harrison now setting quite a bit of a gap. So Kieran Harrison just getting faster and faster out here. Currently about 1900ths of a second over Victor Miranda. Of course, we got to see some great work by Victor Miranda during yesterday's races. And speaking of yesterday's races, we had AMX 0 and AMX 5. For everyone out there that wants to get involved in AMX, you can get in to AMX 0. That is the perfect starting place. I know I love to get in there from time to time when I'm not in the booth, but it's free for entry. A lot of the base content that already in iRacing. So if you currently have an iRacing subscription, you want to get in here and battle it out against some of these pro sim drivers, no better place to do it than on Saturday's AMX 0, or perhaps you have a bit higher iRating and you want to get in for some of these bigger prize pools. Hey, we'd love to have you too. But back to what's going on track. We are currently right on board Gaston Coulavi, of course, one of the members of the Sart MC team, alongside his teammate Diego Villarreal. So we'll have to see where he's going to do. Currently sitting in 6th position. We had a bit of drama going on yesterday, but like I said, a lot of these guys, when you are pushing these vehicles to the absolute limit, there's bound to be some incidents on track. So we'll have to see exactly what happens out here today.
Yes, we will. And the first thing who's going to disqualify, of course. 5 minutes to go in session. Still your hardest of the bunch. Coulavi, we're looking at though, is not necessarily tracking well, but he's trying to put a good sector together in this Honda Civic, of course, down towards the start-finish line, which is technically on the corner here in Imola, but Imola doesn't really like it's very straight. So Coulavi is up and across the line, and there is going to be, oh no, there's no improvement there for him. There is for Gonzalo Fabi, who's right behind. He jumped up to 4th. At almost the same time as Coulavi came across the line, so maybe picking up a little bit of a slipstream there. Rich Lozano has improved to 9th spot as well. Kieran Harrison tracking well. He's gone purple in the middle sector and a personal best in 1 and 2, so keep an eye on Harrison as he's coming up to the line.
And especially in these vehicles, a lot of this is about momentum. So not as quite as much as something with a lot less horsepower, such as an MX-5 Cup car, but definitely enough to be really linking in between these turns. As we can see right there, beautiful line. Bruno De Carmo looking like a lot of these drivers still not really able to improve much on their lines. A little bit on the warmer side out here today. It's about 32 degrees out there. The track temp's about 46 degrees. So not quite as hot as we have seen, but we'll have to see how the weather affects these, especially being front-wheel drive vehicles. If you start taking these corners a little bit too hot, it's very easy to overcook those front wheels. And once you do, it is understeer city out here. But right now, still, Bruno De Carmo, not bad, still sitting in 4th place. Of course, the Delinta Esports drivers out here with his teammates as well.
Have to say the Linta scheme looks lovely on that car for whatever reason. Looks absolutely stunning on the Hyundai. So fair play to whatever designer that was. Suits its components really well. Bruno De Carmo, of course, rounded off last season very well. Took an AMX20 win. We're going to continue strong form here in season 6. And Bruno De Carmo was only 10th last time out in Silverstone, but he'll be looking to improve upon that here. 4th currently in qualifying with 3 minutes to go. It is 0.4 of a second separating Kieran Harrison and Victor Miranda, and it is looking like the Brit will be able to take pole position and the $15 prize pool for this first of 2 qualifying sessions that you'll see this evening. One coming up later in Mugello, of course, to start our action there. Here's Resenje, however, heading into the Ravazzas. Let's see what he can do. Big 4th sector for him.
And here we come as he comes across in the final sector. Definitely already getting one of the best sectors there, you can see in sector 4. So now as he comes across the start finish line, where is this going to put him? Currently in 6th position. Will it be enough to go up in the standings? And looking like so far, Jackson Senjay might just be sitting in the middle of the pack out here during our qualifying. I'm seeing right now Kieran Harrison still absolutely blazing lap times. Victor Miranda very close behind him. Only 2 drivers so far out here to be setting a sub 1 minute 55 seconds. So your top 2 drivers, we might be seeing the battle going all the way down to the line out here today. I know we got to see that last time, a couple of different places. Of course, if there's incidents on the track, that's really going to put a wrench in these guys' plans.
You can see just as we're looking here at Jackson Resenje, both on the track and in the simulator, just how much input you have to put in to get these cars around through the corners. It looks so smooth out on circuit, but then watch Resenje's hands. There's 1 input, 2, now 3, and then a little 4th one coming off of the corner. So very demanding track is Imola. You can't drive it while you're asleep. Otherwise you will make a mistake. So you've got to be laser focused here. And of course we're on a bit of a longer format for certain AMX historically, so these guys have a lot of work to do. 1 minute to go in qualifying, however. I fear it is all decided. No big improvements coming apart from Jackson Resenje as Maurizio Lozano is heading into the Ravazzas. He's got a car behind him now that is looking to slipstream, and dare I say that it is Gonzalo Fabi, or it is Fabi coming towards the start-finish line. So we'll see where these guys are able to go. This will be the last lap of the day for them, or the last lap for qualifying at least for them, and there'll be no improvement from either. So just waiting on Gael Valero, Evandro Dantas to finish. Everyone else has crossed the line.
So with less than 30 seconds to go, we'll have to see if this may be our running order. Of course, we have that top 15 reverse grid going on, as now we're on board with Gael Valero. Let's see if he is able to get out of that 3rd place position. We know he has very close, but it looking like so far, no, Gael Valero will be holding on to that 3rd place position as the qualifying comes to an end. Of course, a beautiful overlook of Italy, a lot of beautiful places. That is one place I absolutely would love to get a tour of Italy on my bucket list for sure.
Yes, you can see some beautiful historic sites and some modern vast skylines. You can also see the BenQ session winner of Kieran Harrison, who goes quickest with a 1:54.667. Victor Miranda then in 2nd, with Gael Valero in 3rd. Bruno De Carmo in 4th, Gonzalo Fabi in 5th, ahead of Jackson Resenje in 6th. Gaston Kilhavy in 7th, ahead of Alberto Seneo in 8th, and there's Maurizio Lozano in 9th, Pedro Dean in 10th, Evandro Dantas in 11th, and no time for Diogo Villarreal, who will round us out in 12th. This could be a good one, Kevin. What can we expect maybe from the first of 2 heats tonight?
I mean, one of the big things that we're going to have to keep an eye out is last time, although there is no mandatory pit stop out here for AMX10 this season, these drivers did not have enough fuel to complete some of the laps. So definitely fuel savings is going to be on the forefront of these guys' minds that were here a couple of weeks ago.
That's very interesting. So we've got fuel saving to consider tonight here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari. The full name of that circuit, of course, was changed in 1970. It was renamed in honor of Enzo's son Dino, who sadly passed away. And then Enzo's own name was added in 1988. Historic Motorcars from the local town of Imola. The current Formula 1 CEO Stefano Domenicali was born in the local vicinity, and he represents the town very well. There has been many a race here in Imola. It's only the second circuit to host a Grand Prix under 3 different names. Of course, currently the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, the San Marino Grand Prix it used to be, and the Italian Grand Prix. The only track that beats it, I think, is the Nürburgring, which has technically had 4. But we are ready to go as we go racing here in Imola. It's a great start from the man who started at the front, Diogo Villarreal. Even better start from Evandro Dantas down towards the first corner, and you can see Dantas on the outside of Villarreal here and towards the first corner. Pedro Dean sitting pretty in third. Villarreal gets through Tamburello fairly decently. Pedro Dean hot in the heels of Dantas.
Yes, an absolute great start. Just like that, we have a lap 1 incident going on in the back. That is Bruno De Carmo getting taken out off into the wall. Looks like a substantial amount of damage there. We're definitely going to have to catch a replay. All we got to see was a lot of smoke going on in the background, and now these cars going too wide out here. This is definitely one of those tracks that you can handle off on these a little bit slower around some of these corners, but definitely the bumper-to-bumper, the door-banging action has already begun. Just like we seen a couple of weeks ago, lap 1 chaos is always a thing that you can count on out here at AMX. It has been sometimes, unfortunately, for the drivers, but making for a great view out here as Diego Villarreal still doing a great job holding on to that in first place. Here we see Pedro Dean trying to battle off Jackson Asenge in the middle of the pack, as well as, a little bit more contact right there on the rear end. So Gaston Gulabi, Gael Valero able to take advantage of that, getting up 1 place into 7th.
Yes, good movement into the chicane. You can see one of the Lenta esports cars that is just overtaking there, and there is a little bit of a shuffle behind as well. But Villarreal, despite not setting a time in qualifying, he's off the line well, and he leads by 7/10 of a second ahead of the Spaniard. It is Evandro Dantas in 3rd and Resenge in 4th. You are looking at Fabi here in 6th position under a little bit of pressure from Gael, or not from Gael Valero, sorry. He is putting the pressure on Jackson Resenge, I should say. Gael Valero just a little bit behind. And very early call, a couple of cars, 3 cars to be exact, into the pit lane here, Kevin.
Yeah, and looking at who is currently hitting the pit lane, I know, like I said, one of those, Jackson Asenge. A couple of these guys did have a bit of bumping going on there, but I think the big thing from them just putting in lap after lap in qualifying is knowing how much fuel am I going to be using out here. Of course, with about a 30-minute race out here, it's right on the edge of maybe I can get enough fuel savings to stay out on the track, but definitely with such a long track out here today, I highly doubt that these guys are going to be able to save enough fuel and still be able to get atop the podium. So we'll have to see exactly what their pit strategy, but now still Bruno De Carmo still in the pits, having the longest pit stop. Of course, we got to see him on that lap 1 incident. Here it is, a picture-picture replay going on the inside curbing, coming out, just getting a bit unsettled, and just with that, it was enough to get the car into another driver, and at that point, he just got spun around into the wall, the tire barrier, his rear end hitting the concrete barrier. So unfortunately for Bruno De Carmo, quite a bit of repairs to get done where he'll get back out on track. But the silver lining with that is he will be sitting on pole position potentially for heat number 2.
Yeah, I gotta say, stellar job for whoever that was right behind him to somehow not get collected in that incident. That was quite impressive. Here is our Gaston Gulabi that we are on board with, looking back at the man who was quickest in qualifying, Kieran Harrison, who has already jumped up a couple of spots, and Harrison is looking threatening for a race win potentially here in this race. In terms of those who have pit, they're all down the back of the order, and it is from Pedro Dean down, who have all made their way into the pit box here. Kieran Harrison, though, will definitely be looking for a move down at the first corner, down through what used to be the old motorcycle chicane, down towards the Tamburello corner. And it is a blistering start for Harrison in not just the race, but in the championship as a whole. And he's looking to continue on his strong form. Current championship leader, of course, is Kieran Harrison, and he's now starting to put the pressure on the Argentine.
And then we can see as the drivers coming across the start-finish line, we have Gael Valero setting the fastest lap, 155.132. So these guys definitely getting a little bit more in line. The train starting a bit, leaving plenty of room for them to start improving on their lap times. So just a quick reminder as well, in heats 1 and 2, there is a little bit of extra points going to those that set the fastest lap. So far, Gael Valero doing an excellent job, but right behind him, we have Gaston Kulavi, Kieran Harrison. So these guys, there's not, seems so far, really, there's not been much room for passing out here so far. I mean, these guys are really going to have to put their nose in there, really try to shove that door open if they want to get an overtake done out here.
Yeah, you're going to have to be brave. Definitely going to have to be brave if you want to make a move. Stick, maybe not as much in Mugello later, because of course you have the long run down towards Sant'Anato, and you have a couple of difficult corners that drivers might make mistakes in. But here in Imola, if the driver in front of you is running a fairly decent line, you will have a tough time at making the move. You've got to make it work. At any given opportunity, I suppose. We're looking back from Fabi, that is Gael Valero, who you can see there, the Season 4 and Season 5 champion, and the man currently doing very well in Season 6 as well. He's certainly not slowed down, that is for sure, but he is starting to be slowed down in this race specifically by Fabi. Diogo Villarreal not extending the gap at the front, but is sitting comfortable, and there we go. That's the bravery we're talking about. Kieran Harrison lunging down the inside of Gaston Kilhavy. A little bit of door-to-door action heading through the Ravazzas. Both Honda drivers accelerating out of the final corner down towards turn number 1, and it is still Kilhavy who is in front. Harrison not able to make the move immediately just yet, but he does have the slipstream. The Honda suffers a little bit in slower or in top speed. They're both in the same car. It'll both be a dead even heat, and Kieran Harrison is able to fly around the outside. The Brit is ahead and up to 5th place.
So just like that, as they come across the home stretch, I think that's really going to be where a lot of these drivers are going to have to set up their passes, trying to go into turn 1, really get alongside the other driver in front of them. Of course, Gaston Gulali was doing a great job of defending, and speaking of doing a great job defending, Diego Villarreal, of course, although he was last in qualifying, still 4 laps into this thing, doing a great job, but he has Alberto Senao looking to open the door, and right there goes wide. Just as I say that, Alberto Senao able to take advantage of that, slots right in front, up to 1st place. Diego Villarreal dropping down into 2nd.
Yeah, mistake there for Villarreal, and that allowed Alberto Senao to get the job done and up into 1st place. And I have to say, Fabi is looking threatening on the back of this. Well, putting the number 12, we saw him in the latter stages of qualifying, out pushing, trying to get a better lap time in, and certainly he's pushing here in the race, and almost bumper to front end with Villarreal and Fabi. They're getting very close down towards the chicane. You can see Fabi actually pulling out a line there as he lost a bit of time. No, he will stay in front of Gael Valero, but that puts a 4th car in the fight.
And also interesting choice of vehicles out here. Of course, it seems like before iRacing's update to the TCR vehicles, there was heavy dominance out here from the Audi RS3s. But since then, there's quite a bit, as now it looks like Diego Villarreal, not sure if he might have gotten a slowdown there, as he dropped several positions, now all the way back down to 6th place. So we might have to check in with him to see exactly what happened, but now he is slotted in right behind his teammate of Gaston Kulavi. We see Kieran Harrison not wanting to any of this battle going on, saying, you know what, I'm going to go in. I know I need a bit of fuel to finish this race. I'm going to get out into clean air, hopefully set the fastest lap, and get back out on this. So definitely a veteran driver out here, kind of setting the pace for a lot of these people. You know, so far we already have about 4 or 5 drivers hitting the pit so far. So I'd say it's very safe that it's going to be extremely difficult to fuel save all the way to the end, if it's going to be possible at all. But we'll have to see, because now Alberto Senao leading the race in front of Gonzalo Fabi. We'll have to see exactly when, if these guys start battling it out, if either of them try to go for the undercut, try to hit the pits and come back out with clean air.
Yep, that's exactly what Kieran Harrison wants. He just wants clean air, doesn't want to be stuck behind drivers, and certainly doesn't necessarily want to be battling. 1.2 seconds separates himself and Pedrodin in front, though, so he doesn't have a whole lot of clean air to work with, and he will have to make an overtake fairly soon. So the plan has marginally backfired for Kieran Harrison, but we will keep tabs on him and see how he is doing for the duration of the race. Lap 5 is 16, so I mean, we're not even halfway through yet. We still have plenty of time to decide things.
Well, see, as now we are on board. One man that has been slipping through the grid up to the top. Gael Valero currently sitting in 3rd place, already up 7 positions. So he is the one driver that has gained the most since the start of the heat. Out here, lap number 5 of 16, your running order. Alberto Senao in 1st, followed shortly by Gonzalo Fabi in 2nd and Gael Valero in 3rd. So absolutely, this is where we are probably going to have to see, will Gael Valero have the pace to get above these guys? I mean, he's already up 7 positions, so I have no doubt. But I think Gonzalo Fabi going to be doing an excellent job of defending. So knowing that these drivers may have to pit, I think the strategy is really what it's going to come down to out here.
Yeah, Mauricio Lozano able to get past Villarreal. We're on board with Gael Valero. He's looking to try to get past Gustavo Fabi, and he's gaining really quickly in a straight line. Is to no avail, and he will have to stay behind. Fabi was gaining quite quickly on Albert Senao, but again, no joy there for Fabi, and the Argentine will have to stick behind Albert in front. Remember, folks, you can check out the live timing as well through the QR code to the right-hand side, and make sure, of course, as well that you are subscribing to our various social media channels wherever you're watching the stream. It's a pleasure to have you. Let us know your thoughts on the action so far in the stream chat, in the YouTube and Twitch, of course, and we'll try to read out as many comments as you can, but as we can, I should say. Well, for now, lap 6 of 16, it is still Albert Senao who leads, but we've got to keep an eye on Pedro Dean and Kieran Harrison. They are lapping very quickly down in 8th and 9th, and they've already made what we assume to be one pit stop apiece.
And one driver, speaking of Pedro Dean, we've got to see him lately this season, really improved a lot compared to prior seasons. But one of the biggest things that, unfortunately for him, I feel like he may be one of the unluckiest drivers out on the field. There's been a lot of incidents that he's gotten into that quite literally he just had nowhere to go. He was a passenger in his own vehicle. So Pedro Dean still putting out a great pace out here. We'll have to see where these drivers come out of the pit stops, because we've had all the way up to 8th place. So your top 7 drivers out here have not hit the pits. But like we said, Kieran Harrison, of course, leading that. There's about a 17.5-second gap between Harrison and those who have not pitted yet. So plenty of time for, once they start hitting their pit stops, to Kieran Harrison to get up towards the lead. Of course, definitely going to be a lot more difficult. The longer these guys stay out is just leaving more room for Kieran Harrison to really come out when they hit the pits. I mean, if we start seeing Senao, Fabi, Valero really start battling it out, that's also going to open up the door for Gaston Kulavi, who's only about a second behind them right now. So, Evan, definitely, I feel like we're going to have a great door-to-door battle on our hands very soon, as we're only about halfway through this heat number 1.
I'm kind of hoping we have a good door-to-door battle as well, because the race needs something to just spice it up that a little bit. And usually when we say that, these guys start to provide. Kieran Harrison is clawing in Evandro Dantas. That gap was 18 when he overtook Pedro Dean. It's now 16.7. He is pumping in very quick laps after making what we assume to be just a fuel pit stop for Kieran Harrison. Obviously different if you're Bruno De Carmo, who had to get major repairs. But for Harrison, just the fuel. So now, just about leading for now as they head into Piratella. Fabi right behind. He's been sort of at close proximity for the last couple of laps, but just wasn't able to make a move. Kevin, obviously you have a bit of racing experience, especially in AMX. If you were in Fabi's position now, what would you be looking to do?
I mean, really, it's kind of just knowing, okay, I think he knows Gael Valero is right behind him, so he's having to do a lot of mirror driving right now, but he's still looking for Alberto Senao to just make a move. I know out here in the TCR vehicles, a lot of it is about patience, especially on this track where we've seen there's only really been one major passing opportunity. It's really most of the passes have been because the other drivers have made mistakes. So I think right now, if he is on pace, which, see now, speaking of pace, Gael Valero dropping a little bit now back into 4th position. Not sure if he also may have cut a corner, got a bit of a slowdown. But like I said, definitely mistakes out here are going to be that. So if Gonzalo Fabi starts getting out there saying, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm going to be making mistakes, I'm not sure if I'm on pace, really that's what it's going to come down to. But so far it feels like he thinks he's just going to stick right behind Alberto Senao, probably going to wait until Senao pits or might try to go for the overcut. That's what we can see. But Gael Valero, of course, wanting to get some clean air as well, hitting the pits already.
Yeah, Gael Valero seemed to make a mistake, and he was like, right, gotta cut the losses here, and comes into the pit lane. That gives Fabi a little bit of breathing room. You can see Alberto Senao there on your bottom left, laser concentrated. Actually, it's the same racing wheel as I do, which is cool to see. No, he doesn't. Never mind, ignore that. That is a way fancier paddle shifter than what I have. It's actually a very interesting thing to see what a lot of the hardware that these top sim racers use, because these are some of the best guys on iRacing, and they all run different sort of wheelbases, wheels, brands. Kevin, what's your hardware of choice?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I've pretty much the lower end Fanatec stuff. I've thought of, you know what, hey, maybe I should spend a little bit more gear out here and get something a little bit nicer. But then the more I go out and race, I start thinking, you know what, I think I should spend that money on some coaching lessons, perhaps. Of course, being out here, learn a lot from these guys the few times I've been on track with them. But really out here, that's where I'd say at the end of the day it matters. We see it time and time again, especially when we've had a lot of top-level drivers still out there on some of the very low force feedback Logitech stuff, nothing crazy, no direct drive, still putting down crazy lap times. So it definitely comes down to just really your driver skill, how much you can learn and how much you can put onto the track rather than having the nice gear. The nice gear helps, but doesn't help enough to really make you that much more of a driver.
Yes, kids, if you're watching, do not use the Fanatec makes me quicker excuse to get presents off your parents. That is a false lie you are feeding them. Don't do that. You can definitely be quick on some lower end hardware. But of course, if you would like a new sim racing cockpit, for example, make sure you do check out Next Level Racing for that. They are, of course, our partners here on AMX, and I am also a proud owner of one of their pieces, so make sure you do check them out. A couple of pit stops then. We have Lozano and Villarreal both on pit exit. So that shuffles up the order a little bit. That puts Kieran Harrison up to 5th. And in terms of this race, Kieran Harrison, definitely the quickest man out on circuit in a moment. He's now cut 6 seconds into the lead that Vantas had over him. And I suppose it would be fair if that Kieran Harrison is probably the favourite for this one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, of course, just going off of qualifying, this is one of those tracks that usually qualifying where you see the drivers sitting there is most likely where they're going to end up during the race. So all the way up to the highest level of even in Formula One, qualifying at this track is so important. Of course, with the top 15 reverse grid out here in AMX, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get through the pack. But when you have veteran drivers such as Kieran Harrison, of course, like we mentioned, being a specialist of kinds out here in the TCR vehicles, no doubt in my mind that he has what it takes to get all the way through all the other drivers back up into that top spot. But right now, still the top 4 drivers yet to take a pit stop. Your current running order in lap 9, Albertus now in 1st, Bobby in 2nd, and in 3rd place we have Kulavi.
Just looking as they head down towards the first corner. It is Sinai who is leading Fabi in 2nd, Kulhavi in 3rd. One of our stream chat asking where's Verstappen. Something tells me he might be a little bit busy this weekend. Evander Dantas then in 4th. Those are the guys who have not had to pit. Kevin, is it a guarantee that they have to pit, or can anyone maybe just try fuel save to the end? Because we do only have 6 laps left.
I mean, normally I would say, well, yes and no. So, I mean, really, you can fuel save, but will you still be competitive? And I think that's really one of the biggest things when you have guys that know these vehicles inside and out, like Kieran Harrison, like Gael Valero, and seeing that both of them have already hit the pit stops. I mean, really, that's what it's going to come down to. They know once they came out of the pits, they are absolutely blazing on track, trying to set down the fastest lap. And speaking of fastest laps, I mean, we got to see early on Gael Valero doing an amazing job. So, I think really that's what it's come down to out here is these guys are having to push it to the absolute limits. Not really much time for fuel saving unless they want to be dropping back all the way to the middle of the pack.
Yeah, that's a great point you make. Absolutely great. There's no good going for an outlandish strategy if you're not competitive. Sometimes you just got to stick to the meat and potatoes of it and just really go for it on a regular strategy, and I suppose that's what Kieran Harrison is trying to do, and it's working out for him nicely. 1.4 seconds out of Gael Valero, which is a comfortable margin to have over Gael Valero, but if Valero really turns it on, he can close down that margin. And a good job for Albert Senau as well, because he's led for the front here, and he's not really crumbled under the pressure from behind. He kind of hasn't really made a mistake yet.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, a lot of this really just being patient. Of course, Alberto Senao coming out here trying to set the pace up front, just knowing that he perhaps doesn't have to push it as hard as he might, but definitely from the lines that he's taking, he is right on that razor thin edge of being too aggressive and not aggressive enough. So definitely great drive so far out here from Senao. And I see someone out there in the chat asking about the lizards. There's no lizards out here on track today, so I think that's just saved for Singapore these days.
Yeah, another question coming in, how much are they racing for? Their total pool handed out across the first of the AMX10 action tonight will be $500, but the most someone behind the scenes is ahead of me, and they have a graphic ready. There you go on your right-hand side. That's the prize pools for every heat. They are equal apart from the fastest lap for qualifying. That obviously doesn't count. Or sorry, I say you don't get that because, well, you get $15 with fast lap qualifying, so we're not handing out money for free here, folks. Don't get that idea. But yes, $15 the most you can win in one heat, and if it was to stay like this, it would be Albert Senao that would take it.
Yeah, but keep in mind also 11 laps into this thing, and he has still yet to pit, with Gonzalo Fabi right behind him and Gaston Culavi. So the top three drivers right now have gotten a little bit of a gap between third and fourth place, about 17 seconds. Evandro Dantas falling pretty far behind, and Kieran Harrison trying to make up as much time as he can from his early pit. So, like we said, we don't think that these drivers might have enough fuel to make it all the way, but hey, we might be pleasantly, and as soon as I just start saying that, they head to the pits. So right now, this is what it's going to come down to. We might have to keep an eye on Kieran Harrison, of course, leading the pack from those who have already pit. About a 25-second gap between Harrison and these guys who have now hit the pits. So I think that's where it's going to come out. Evan, where do you think Kieran Harrison is going to come out on this one?
In the lead. It's going to be close, but I think he will be in the race lead. Evandro Dantas carries on, and he is ahead, and we're looking, oh, it's going to be close enough. Yeah, it is actually going to be quite close. There is Kieran Harrison just bombing down the straight now. There's the pit exit. Where is Kieran Harrison? Here's Kieran Harrison. He is ahead of Albert Senao, and you can see Gael Valero flying through as well on your screen. And now this is when we get racing. We've had 12 laps of sort of managing your tyres, managing your car. Now we have a motor race on our hands. Victor Miranda, Jackson Resenge, Albert Senao all involved in this one as well. Gaston Colavi, I should say, 1.5 behind as well. Race is on.
And so this is what we expected earlier on. Of course, the drivers slotting out their pit stops just a little bit different how they took that strategy. Of course, Evandro Dantas, although he is in the lead, has yet to take a pit stop. So if Evandro Dantas, we'll have to see if he's going to get the upset out here, especially when all the other drivers have taken a pit stop. If he's able to get it out here on track, that would be an absolute upset out here. But so far, Kieran Harrison is the favorite to win this one. Already about a 2-second gap between Harrison and Valero behind him. But it is Valero having to battle it off between the Delinta Esports drivers. Both Victor Miranda and Jackson Resenge very, very close on his heels, as well as Alberto Senao. So all of those drivers battling it out for a podium position. Let's see, especially knowing that there are two teammates right behind Gael Valero. Of course, from hearing in Gael Valero in past interviews, he is one of those drivers who just keeps his eyes forward as much as he can. Not too worried, just going to run maybe a slightly defensive line out here, but he knows where they can pass, where they can't. And speaking of passing, Victor Miranda going for the inside move, late on the brakes, and slots right in front of it. Ooh, just chopping off the nose of Gael Valero, able to get a great pass done there, Evan.
Brilliant move by Victor Miranda to get up ahead now. He's got to get on his bike and try get up the road and catch Kieran Harrison. Evandro Dantas has finally pulled into the pit lane, so Harrison regains the lead of this TCR race once again. You can see Jackson Resenge maybe looking for the move on Gael Valero down towards the left-hander. He's going to have to hop for the outside of the Tamburello, but he is brave on the brakes. Oh, this is unbelievable from Resenge. Not going to work. He's given a bit of a shoulder, has to cut across the corner, and that almost cuts off Albert Senao. Senao just able to sneak through. Resenge was attacking for the move. He's ended up losing a place. Disastrous for the Brazilian.
And so just like that, that's the kind of racing that we expect out here in the TCR class. Just a bit of having to get super aggressive, really having to force the moves out here at Imola. So now it's going to be a battle, I think, between Gael Valero, Victor Miranda. This may be the one over the next 3 laps coming down to the checkered flag. But their battle has left almost a 3-second gap for Kieran Harrison to start walking away. So long as Kieran Harrison doesn't make any mistakes, I very well believe that he will be walking out of here a heat number 1 winner. So definitely Victor Miranda, Gael Valero, the battle to be watching until the end of the race. Both of these drivers want it very bad, but it's going to come down to who is a bit more aggressive, who is able to hold their line. It is time to put the elbows out for both of these drivers to walk away for that 2nd position.
Here they go then, flying up through the Varante Alta and down towards the Ravazzas. Gael Valero putting the pressure on Victor Miranda down here to the left-hander. Well, not really, but he's trying to at least. Kieran Harrison 3 seconds up the road. You can see he's almost home and dry in this race. There is 3.1 separating himself and Victor Miranda now. A little bit further down the order, it is Sanau in 4th, Resenje, then Colhavi, Dean, Lozano, Villarreal, Dantas and Fabi. And then Bruno De Carmo just circling around 3 laps down after getting major repairs from a first fellow chicane. You can see Harrison 0.3 of a second quicker than Miranda. Miranda 2 quicker than Valero. Those are the top 2 tracking well. The only 2 in the 55s on that lap.
So here they go. Like we said, lap 14 out of 16. These drivers out here only have a couple more laps to get the move done. Looks like Victor Miranda, Gael Valero not really trying to battle it out too much. Of course, there we can see through sector 1, Valero having about a 10th faster. So we know he has the pace, but it doesn't matter how fast you are out here. It matters when you can get a move done. If the driver in front of you is being extremely defensive, which Victor Miranda so far doing a great job of not letting Gael Valero through. But one thing to keep in mind, though, I think right now Valero also knows that he doesn't have Corentin Guinez out here. He doesn't have Dino Filippo. That this is going to put him into great position for the overall championship.
It is. This is giving them all very good points. If you're finishing in the top 5 here tonight, you are gaining a lot of points over those who are at the top of the AMX10 leaderboard. Corentin Guinez, Dino Filippo, Aaron Vasquez, all top 3 not here. And Tobias Soriano not here either. He's in 5th place. And then Fabrizio Belziti as well not here. He's in 7th. So you're gaining a lot of big points over the championship protagonists. Lap 15 out of 16 we will be going on, and although the gaps are close, it's looking fairly lean. Harrison and for now.
And we'll just have to keep an eye out on that. So I think it's been fairly tame between these guys. Of course, one of the big things they know as well is do not get too aggressive out here. Once that happens, then all bets are off. We've got to see, especially on that first lap, you know, big factor in the first lap, though, really the cold tires, really these guys just trying to fight for any little position, because they know once you get in a train like this, that's when it makes it so much more difficult. But also looking here, Jackson Resenje looking to overtake Alberto Sanau for that 4th place position. So Jackson just trying to find there. Looks like he has a little bit more pace over Sanau. So we'll have to see another great battle going on for P4, as well as a battle going on for P2.
Yeah, you're looking at Jackson Resenje in the bottom left of your screen, and that is Albert Sanau now on the opponent cam. So that is Sanau in front of Resenje, and the gap very close between theirs. You can see the gears used by Resenje here through Toza, the uphill left-hander, turn number 7 here in the Imola circuit. 2nd gear really on exit, although it did just briefly upshift to 4th and then immediately downshift to 3rd and 2nd for the rotation. Then he's working up the gears in normal fashion towards Piratello. What gear does he take this corner in? It's going to be down to 3rd just to get the revs back up, the revolutions per minute, and get the rotation through the corner. A lot of different techniques will be on display tonight, but Resenje's fairly similar to the status quo, I suppose, as he heads through Acqua Minerale. Very nice line, very close to going for a move on Albert Sanau.
So here we go as we are on the penultimate lap. Kieran Harrison still about a 3.5 second gap between first and second place. Victor Miranda still trying to battle off Gael Valero for that second place position. A little bit of a gap now. Jackson Sanjay making the move over Alberto Senao. So just like we've seen, once you hit sort of a little bit of those straightaways, just has an absolute great time. Make that move stick, and now he has his sights set on for third place. So we'll have to see if Victor Miranda, Gael Valero, it's going to be now or never to start making that as the white flag comes out. These guys, Valero a little bit faster through sector 1 and 3, Miranda a little bit faster through sectors 2 and 4. So definitely Gael Valero is going to have to pull out something out of his hat, and here he goes on the home straight, gets the slingshot around him, around the outside, perfect, waiting for that, and as well Jackson Sanjay taking advantage of that also. So a huge slowdown from Victor Miranda.
Yeah, Miranda had a problem there. Something went wrong because that was an unnatural gain for Gael Valero and Sanjay. All three of them in the Hyundai. So it's not as if it was sort of a difference in the engines. And yes, there is technically two Hyundais, but they both have the same 250 horsepower, 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder engine in them. Harrison in the Honda is well up the road though, and you can see him just circling round. The battle's still on for second, although Valero looking comfortable now with a 1 second gap. Victor Miranda is going to try to fight back and get past Jackson Sanjay for the final podium placing, the final step on the rostrum, and he'll be pushing him down towards Aqua Minerale and in towards the Varante Alta. But will it be to much avail? We'll find out in a moment. The number 7 Sanjay through now the final couple of corners, looking good to take third place. This is maybe where he suffered. It's heading through. Still ahead is Jackson Sanjay, and it's looking like it's going to stay in this order until we reach the checker. Kieran Harrison just heading down towards the Ravazzas now, and although went for an early pit stop and had to cut through the field, he was the quickest in qualifying. He will continue to be the quickest here in the race. It has been a brilliant drive by Kieran Harrison, who comes across the line to extend his championship lead in the AMX10 TCR Championship. It is a brilliant result for Harrison. Gael Valero will come home in second. The Frenchman continues his strong Season 6 form, trying to defend his championship from Season 5. It will be Sanjay, Miranda and Albert Senao who rounds out your top 5.
So just an absolute masterclass drive from Kieran Harrison out here today. I mean, we kind of got to see quite a bit of that during qualifying, just how quick he is. Of course, him pitting early, not trying to battle it out with anyone, just get in there, set his own pace, set some fast laps, and that's exactly what led to his win out here today. Gael Valero coming in second place as well, sort of doing the same thing Jackson Sanjay with that last lap. Unfortunately, Victor Miranda, who was sitting in that second place position, didn't have the battle that he was hoping for going down into the final lap. So definitely a great place for Kieran Harrison out here today. We're going to have to wait and see if he's going to be able to make that 3 in a row.
Yes, we will have a second 30-minute race here at Imola, folks. Coming up now in heat number 2, we're just looking at some more beautiful Italian countryside and scenery. It will be a reverse grid once again. So it will be Bruno De Carmo who starts on pole position in this one, but we'll run through your Heat 1 results first, and your BenQ session winner is Kieran Harrison ahead of Gael Valero in second, Jackson Sanjay in third, Alberto Senao in fourth, Gaston Kohavi in fifth, Pedro Dean in sixth, Maurizio Lozano in seventh, Diego Villarreal in eighth, ahead of Gonzalo Fabi in ninth, and Evandro Dantas in 10th. And it was Victor Miranda 20 seconds off the field in 11th. Bruno De Carmo, of course, suffering that early damage, finishes in 12th. Fastest lap went to Jackson Sanjay, an extra $2 for his prize pool.
So there we go. So still great day out here. Of course, we have a double header going on today. First out here at Imola, then we're going to be heading it down the road to Mugello. So two of the best, I don't know, some of my favorite courses, of course, Monza, probably the most famous Italian course out here. But I'd say Mugello is my personal favorite Italian course. No matter what the car, I really love to see it. Got to see one of the biggest moments that has been broadcasted out here on AMX is back Team Redline doing their real racers never quit. But back to what's going on out here. A great start from the Delita Esports drivers. Bruno De Carmo leading him, followed by Victor Miranda right behind him. So let's see Evandro Dantas trying to slot it in third, looking for that early move going on, but it will still be a train really, very early on out here. So that same section that took out drivers last time, we have it pretty clean, but we'll have to see because it's still early on. These tires are still cold, and these drivers are still hungry for those positions.
Yeah, good start from De Carmo, but he is under a lot of pressure from his teammate Miranda down towards Toza for the first time. Evandro Dantas has held off Fabi, or has he? Fabi, huge lunge down the inside, contact made. That is Evandro Dantas, who goes off into the gravel, and it was opportunistic to say the least from Fabi. He has shoved the Brazilian off, and the Brazilian will have to pick up his towel from the beach and the exit of the corner and rejoin the racing surface way down the order now. Stewards might have a look at that one. It was not necessarily reckless, but certainly brave from Fabi. But I suppose there is an element that you have to succeed around Imola.
Oh, absolutely. And I just know we're going to have to see another angle from that on a replay later on just to get a better view of that. But, man, that is just absolutely crazy. Someone out there saying, hey, that's not the line you're supposed to be taking. But, I mean, yeah, it's absolute chaos in the TCR. We knew lap number one, like we've seen from Heat 1, if anything can happen. But unfortunately, some of those drivers now, Evandro Dantas, already over 4 seconds behind everyone else. So we'll have to see, as that's left room as well for Victor Miranda and Bruno De Carmo, the two deleted teammates, to be able to start walking away a little bit. But Gonzalo Fabi showing pretty good pace out here so far. We'll see if he's able to catch them very quick, or if these two, of course, the two teammates going to be working together up front. And now, a lot of people out there. We have Kulavi, Jackson SNJ now hitting the pits.
Yeah, Dantas as well, but that's a surprise to no one, really. Bruno De Carmo looking to try and put pressure on Miranda up front, but not able to get past into Tamburello. Pedro Dean to maybe make a move on Lozano as well. Your running order starting the second lap, it is Victor Miranda, Bruno De Carmo, and it is Fabi, Villarreal, Lozano, Dean, Sanao, Valero, Harrison, and it is Kulhavi, Resenje, and Dantas as they run. Kieran Harrison not getting as blistering a start as he got in heat number 1. Still competitive, just there right behind Gael Valero, and those two, I think we'd all love to see a fight between two of the creme de la creme here in AMX, or whatever that phrase is in Italian, but they've certainly been up at the top since, well, season 1, season 2.
And out here, the biggest thing is we can see the picture-in-picture replay down there in the bottom right. So we see Evandro Dantas just, like we said, I think he did not expect another car to be there. I mean, he's seen a little bit look to the outside and then the switch right on the inside. A bit of a dive, just sending Evandro Dantas out. Of course, folks, just a quick reminder too, it is technically the responsibility of the faster car to be safe whenever they try to go for an overtake. So right there, can't really fault Dantas too much for that one. We'll have to see what the racing stewards have to say about that, if there's going to be a protest from Dantas, but that will be safe for later on. For right now, we are on board with Pedro Dean, who is sitting in the middle of the pack, trying to make the move on Mauricio Lozano. So Lozano doing a pretty good job, like we said, around here. Not the best to make a move in this section of the track, but as they start coming on to this straight, we'll have to see, as Pedro Dean now trying to get out of traffic as well. A few other drivers, Alberto Sanel, Gael Valero, so plenty of drivers in the middle of the pack saying, you know what, I just need to get out of here. I think I'm going to be stuck behind some of these slower drivers, and that is what I do not want this early on in the race.
Fabi does set the fastest lap. If I am Dantas, there's 100% a protest going in there, because that was not really his fault at all, but that is for the Gara and for the stewarding teams to decide. It seems like we have a few more early pitters than we had in the last heat, or certainly they are pitting earlier than they did in the last heat. Harrison is he was front of the pitters last time round. He's now actually last of the no stoppers this time, but that is because, of course, he had to start last after the reverse grid after winning heat number 1. So he's only 1 second off Maurizio Lozano, so he'll close that down sooner rather than later, and then he will try to re-overtake the rest of the field. But Miranda out in front, doing a stellar job so far ahead of Bruno De Carmo.
Yeah, and for heat number 2, we knew things were going to get spicy. So far, we're only 3 laps into this thing, and the driver's already turning up the aggression, already a bit more action than what we got to see in heat number 1. But for all of you that want to see what we're seeing up here in the booth, go ahead, feel free to scan that QR code, get the live timing, see a lot more information back on your own phone screen, computer screen, wherever you may be watching from. But right now, looking like Miranda is not quite as fast as the 2 drivers behind him, although through Sector 4, he just set his personal, or just set one of the fastest times through Sector 4. But like we said, Bruno DeCarmo, Gonzalo Fabi setting the fastest lap. Last time around in heat number 1, we didn't really see many drivers getting below that 1 minute 55 second mark. As now the order, shifting. Harrison now getting into 5th position over Diego Villarreal, looking to get onto Lozano, Fabi. We'll see exactly where these guys. I think right now, Kieran Harrison, as he goes for another move now, not making sure to get him pinched too much right here as the track narrows down, just really having a better exit out of the previous corner. Kieran Harrison's making it look quite too easy out here today, Evan.
Well, Villarreal made it easy for him because he ran wide heading through turn number 18, but that was a neat move from Harrison on Lozano. And now 3.4 seconds up the road is Fabi, DeCarmo and Miranda. So he's got to go try and catch them now. Leader of the pitters is Kyle Valero, as someone who's watching on a Roomba, seemingly. That's quite impressive. As then it is the running order so far. It is Miranda, DeCarmo, Fabi, Harrison, Lozano, Villarreal. Then it is Valero, leader of the pitters. Albert Senao, then it is Jackson Rosenje, Pedro Dean, Gaston Calhavi and Evander Jantas. Remember, once we've concluded action here at Imola, folks, we've not concluded action for the evening. We have another 2 heats coming up at Mugello later this evening.
Yeah, and I got to think, I mean, although these guys are in the sim, just how wearing this can be, going through such a demanding track such as Imola, and then having to head it back out to Mugello. We'll have to see if Kieran Harrison, I mean, so far he's been extremely dominant out here. He's going to carry that dominance through into Mugello. I expect there to be some great battles as well. You know, we got to see Gael Valero. Of course, I mean, there's so many guys out here that are capable of it, but I think a lot of this comes down to how well do they know their car, how well do they know the track. Once we hit to Mugello, I expect a lot more passing opportunities. These guys, there's a bit more places on the track for those wider turns, for them to really be trying to go 2 wide, possibly even some 3 wide down into turn number 1. I know plenty of stuff to go on. No matter the vehicle, Mugello will be putting on a great show. So absolutely, everyone, make sure to follow our Twitch and YouTube to get notified whenever we go live, as well as head over to amxrace.com if you want to get signed up to join the races, or if you just want to see the full schedule. But right now, lap number 5, Victor Miranda still doing a great job holding on to that lead. His teammate Bruno DeCarmo in 2nd and Gonzalo Fabi in 3rd.
Yeah, and we are heading to Mugello, same car class, pretty much the same drivers. I don't think it's a copy-paste. These guys can choose a different car to go for, and they might do, because the Honda very good through slower speed corners. If you ask someone to describe Mugello, slow is not the word they'd use. I think the slowest corner might be either the last corner or the first corner of San Donato. But certainly you have your Arviatas and you have your very quick corners that you don't necessarily want to be in a car that is good through slow speed. But that's a talking point for later. The talking point for now around Imola is that Victor Miranda currently still leads Bruno DeCarmo and Fabi. One thing that has been copy and pasted, I suppose, is the formats, or sorry, is the way that this race is being run compared to the last one, Kevin, in that we have sort of 3 cars at the front, are all just waiting for the pit stop.
Yeah, definitely. And even right now, 5 laps in, we only have about half the field still yet to take their pit stop. So I think it's going to be one of those, of course, the big thing we didn't have in the previous heat that is not copy-paste is 2 teammates leading the pack. So right here, definitely these guys are going to be trying to work together as much as they can. Now, trying to get a little bit of a gap between them and Gonzalo Fabi. So I think the strategy for them is really going to be trying to wait until the last possible moment to hit the pit. So we might see on the penultimate lap, Victor Miranda and Bruno DeCarmo hitting the pits. We'll have to see if Gonzalo Fabi, of course, he's trying to hold on to the draft of those 2 cars as much as he can. But I believe if he starts falling behind in the running order, he knows that he has Kieran Harrison going to be hot on his tail. So that's probably when we'll see Gonzalo Fabi pit either try to stick with these guys, or once he starts falling, just hit the pits, get back out here and see what he can do.
Yeah, Fabi maybe dropping back a little bit from Bruno De Carmo, but nothing too substantial. To be fair to these three as well, the gap between them and Kieran Harrison has kind of remained the same. 3.4, 3.3 fluctuating. It's kind of remained fairly similar. Gael Valero is 24 seconds off Villarreal. That is the first of the pitters and last of the non-pitters. That bodes nicely, I suppose, for Miranda De Carmo and Fabian Harrison, because they have a nice enough gap to Gael Valero in that front. I think once the pit stops happen in this race, it is going to be a little bit closer than it was in the earlier race tonight, which is a positive.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind also is once the pressure starts getting really put onto Fabi, exactly what he's going to do, how that's going to affect him. I mean, right now it's really just about just kind of settling in. These guys have found their pace, but what we've seen from early on in the race, Fabi getting a little bit aggressive out here today in the TCRs. So we'll have to see if that aggressiveness shows up again whenever it's do or die on the last final laps between Vic Miranda, Bruno De Carmo, of course, Kieran Harrison trying to make up pace, start catching back up to him. We got to see last time around in the TCRs as well. I mean, pretty much any time that we've seen some of these voracious racing team drivers out here on the track, that they definitely are not afraid to get a little bit aggressive on track. So we'll have to wait and see as time goes passing by. But Kieran Harrison right now, just over 3-second gap between himself and Gonzalo Fabi, which kind of seen from heat number one as well as qualifying. I'd expect Kieran Harrison to be closing that gap a little bit more. But like we said, Kieran Harrison, knowing this car like the back of his hand, he got to see where he was in heat number one. Let's see if him falling back just a little bit, if he's doing any sort of fuel saving. That'd be the one person that I would expect, if there is a possibility to stay out on track the entire time, Kieran Harrison would be one of those to know.
Now, a number just flashed up on our screen a second ago, and I think it's pit stop time, or at least it correlates to that, and it said 35 seconds for Gael Valero. That's just your routine service. The gap between Miranda and Valero now is currently 32.3 and closing. So I think Gael Valero could be in a comfortable spot here, as we will be heading over the halfway point in this race shortly. I think Valero might be in a pretty decent space. 23.4 now the gap between himself and Villarreal, so that drops it down to about 31-ish. Yeah, the Frenchman is not doing too bad in his Hyundai Elantra, which is the longest of the TCR vehicles, actually. We have two cars out on display tonight, the shortest and the longest. The Elantra, very stable. As you can just see it going across the curbs there. It has a compliant suspension setup, so it makes it easy to drive over the curbs, and that helps at Imola, of course, when there is quite a lot of them. And the stable balance suits sim racers, because one thing sim racers don't like is a car that is all over the place.
And here we go. So as we are getting closer to the halfway point, right now we're lap number 7 of 16. It is still Victor Miranda leading in first, followed by Bruno De Carmo in second, and now starting to put a little bit more of a gap between second and third. Gonzalo Fabi about 1.5 seconds behind. Kieran Harrison starting to slowly close that gap as well. So looking at the timing tower, a bit of a gap between all the drivers right now. So definitely this is one thing that we've brought up before. But I mean, from your point of view, Evan, do you think it's easier when you have someone in your targets to really try be keeping up pace? Or do you think it's a little bit easier when you don't have that pressure, a little bit more in no man's land?
In a situation like this, I think it's definitely good to have a reference. It's definitely good to have someone to keep your targets with. Maybe if you're hunting down a qualifying lap time or something, it might be better to just do it on your own. But for Gael Valero, it's definitely nice to have a target, because the more that gap closes, the more confidence he will have. As you can see him just kicking the car up on one of those yellow and black sausage curbs on the outside of Tamburello. But yeah, I think Valero will be liking where that gap is trending. That'll fill him with confidence, and that will allow him to drive the car more stable, more securely, more safely, and bring it home to the race finish. But yeah, he's a two-time AMX overall champion, so he definitely has his ways to hunt down gaps. He has his ways to chase lap times, and he puts the theory to paper and proves it gets the practical results, and that's what he's going to try to do here tonight. But don't rule out anyone just yet, because if races were won on paper and they were won on timing sheets, motorsport would be a very different place. Races are not won on the timing tower, not won on timing sheets, they are won on the road.
One thing that was actually kind of nice to see for the last AMX10 race, we got to see Gael Valero with one of his newer teammates, that being Aaron Vasquez out there. Of course, Aaron not here today. We'll have to see. Like I said, anyone that may not be here might be showing up for Mugello. I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to be the same drivers that we're seeing right now heading over to Mugello, but we'll have to wait and see if there's anyone drops out, anyone that comes back on in. Of course, Aaron Vasquez being one of those with a pro license in iRacing, definitely is focusing a bit more on some of the pro series for Apex Racing Team, as well as some of these other guys I know we got to see out here. Some of the Delete guys getting their pro licenses out in the open wheelers as well. So this is definitely a bit different from their bread and butter, but nonetheless, still Victor Miranda, Bruno DeCarmo doing a great job out here in heat number 2.
Yeah, here's Jackson Resenje going for the move on Alberto now in towards Tamburello, and that's a decent move for fairly easy move for Resenje. He was able to get it done on the straight. It's not the most difficult move he's ever had to pull off in his sim racing career, and he gets the job done on Albert Senao. In terms of the fastest lap in this heat, currently belongs to the Argentine of Gonzalo Fabi, who is in 3rd spot. Your biggest gainer in this race is obviously Kieran Harrison, coming from the back to 4th. But we are still yet to see 6 pit stops, so we will see those come into the pit lane, or we will see them try and stay out for the long run. Gaston Kilhavy has actually done 2 pit stops and is still not in last, which goes to show the amount of damage sustained by Evandro Dantas in that first lap collision with Gonzalo Fabi.
Yeah, one thing that we haven't really seen so much this season in AMX10 as we have in some of the other ones is, there, Senji going really wide on that turn, but still able to keep an amount of grip to stay held in that 8th place position over Senao. But back to what I was saying, one thing we haven't really seen much with AMX10, we haven't seen the weather come in to really play a big factor, not as much nearly as we've seen prior in AMX20, AMX15 this season, and now Kieran Harrison hitting the pits. So right now he is kind of right in the middle of all of the guys that haven't hit the pit stops yet. So he knows, hey, I'm not going to be able to save fuel to get through this. Absolutely not. The guys in front of him also going to have to pit. So interesting move for Kieran Harrison to do it right now in lap number 10, not waiting until later on like the guys in front of him.
Yeah, very intriguing move this from Kieran Harrison. I'm surprised he's played it in the long run, considering he won the race with the undercut earlier on. Let's see where he is in relation to Gael Valero, who is bombing it down the straight now. Now that's intriguing. Harrison is ahead, and I figured out why my maths hasn't worked out, and I'm glad I didn't hold big spiel about how races not won on paper. Harrison obviously doesn't have to put as much fuel in, because he's pitting later, so that's why these pit stops will be shorter. So Harrison is ahead of Valero. There is less than half a second separating them. Game on. Let's let battle commence.
And just like that, so we'll have to see the battle that we kind of expected, like you said, Evan. The race is not being won on paper, but now with the introduction of this battle going on, will these two try to work together until the perhaps penultimate lap, the final lap, or are they going to try to start battling it out immediately? Both of them know that neither of them want to be here in the middle of the pack come the end of the race, but also they are leading it now. Kieran Harrison, Gael Valero, quite potentially could be in the top 2 spots once Victor Miranda, Bruno DeCarmo pit. So that's going to be very interesting to see when the top 2 drivers decide to take their pit stop and how much that draft of those teammates is really helping each other out. So, of course, when you have that, probably not the best cars out here to bump draft in, but it is still possible on the long straight. So we'll have to see exactly. Looks like so far, again, the biggest thing out here is patience.
Yes, you gotta have your patience, you gotta play your cards right, you gotta go for the move when it first presents itself, because as we saw at the end of heat number 1, overtaking opportunities are not a given. You must have bravery, not stupidity, as we might have saw at the start of the race, but you gotta have bravery, you gotta have commitment, and you gotta have the grip in the tyres, the heat in the tyres, and the skill to pull it off. There's a lot of contributing caveats to pulling off an overtake here at Imola. But if two drivers can go battling here, it would be Kieran Harrison and Gael Valero. So hopefully Valero can get that a little bit closer and attempt to pull off a move on Harrison. We're still yet to see 5 pit stops. That's Victor Miranda, Bruno De Carmo, Fabi Lozano, and Villarreal.
And one thing that's a big contrast from the previous AMX10 race is these drivers, seems like they're not really cooking these tires at all. That's a huge difference compared to what we got to see in the previous AMX10 race on the much shorter racetracks, a lot tighter corners, really coming out of those. You can really spin up those front wheels, have a lot of understeer, and really overcook those front tires. So we're not really going to be seeing that today, as well as Mugello. Mugello being a very fast track. I don't expect us to really see that at all there either. So that's one of those things. I am one of those drivers that, like I said, I am a rookie in the clearest sense. Quite literally the definition of rookie. I can have my picture next to it. So I've tried out the front wheel drive cars before, and like I said, you just have to come at it with a different mindset. I definitely prefer a car that is a lot more oversteery than understeery. So definitely need to get my coaching lessons if I ever want to get out here with these guys. But nonetheless, speaking of getting out here on the track with these guys, anyone that wants to get in on these races, you can head over to amxrace.com, get signed up over there. AMX 0, of course, open to everyone, absolutely free. AMX 5, AMX 10, 15, all of those, you can get all of the details on our website. But now we have a couple of the leaders. Victor Miranda, interesting move to stay out, trying to get the overcut out on the track out here.
Yeah, this is very intriguing. All 4 coming in on the same lap. That obviously couldn't be planned, so it's just coincidental. And Miranda is going to carry on and continue. Let's see where they are in relation to Kieran Harrison and Gael Valero. Here's Harrison cutting through the field. Harrison looking to try and get in front of Bruno De Carmo. And is he going to be in front of Bruno De Carmo? No, he isn't. So Bruno De Carmo comes out of the pit lane in the provisional race lead. Remember, he was unfortunate and had a first lap collision at the start of the first heat. He now might just win the second, and Kieran Harrison is in third. Valero fourth, and it is Fabi, Resenge, Senao, Lozano, Dean, Villarreal, Kulhavi, Dantas. 31 seconds separating Miranda and De Carmo. I think he might be able to get in and out in front of Bruno here.
Yeah, I mean, that might have been the strategy right here between the two teammates. Just have one of the teammates go into the pits, really see how long is this going to take, how much of a delta is it going to take to be able to get in there. So, like you said, we should expect it to be at least very, very close out here, especially Bruno De Carmo. You know what? They might even just be doing a team strategy. See if Bruno De Carmo can slightly hold up Kieran Harrison, give time for Victor Miranda to go in and hit the pits. I mean, this is absolutely a great strategy when you see in Formula One, with there being 2 drivers per team, trying to have one of them really hold him up. I know we got to see that last week in full force with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri in Formula One. So that may very well be what these guys are doing.
Yeah, as you can see, just look how close they're getting. Kieran Harrison might just have a go down into Ravatsas. We saw him make a move on Bruno, or not on Bruno De Carmo, we saw him make a move into this corner earlier on tonight. Not really close enough to go for the lunge, though. Would have to be very brave on the brakes if he did so. And you can see brakes early, the front wheel driven car, you can just see the nose dip as they come into the corner. Victor Miranda is now into the pit lane. This could be very close on the exit as they accelerate out of the final corner down towards the main straight. Here is Victor Miranda's onboard leaving the pit lane now, and De Carmo is under pressure from Harrison. Will Miranda come into the mix? Where is Victor Miranda on pit exit? There he is. It's got to be exceptionally close between these two. Harrison looking to attack De Carmo. Victor Miranda is well up the road. Victor Miranda will remain in the race lead. Harrison won't be able to get past the Delente Esports car or Bruno De Carmo either. The 2 Brazilians will remain 1 and 2, but look at the pressure Harrison is putting on De Carmo down towards the Ferrante Villeneuve. They're going to be side by side on entry. Will they be even both intact on exit? De Carmo just keeps it round the outside. He's going to shove Harrison. They won't be intact on exit. Into the wall goes De Carmo. Just about avoids the wall actually, but it is race over nonetheless.
And so just like that, I mean, unfortunately, it's great news for Victor Miranda. He had his teammate out there having his back the entire time, but it looks like Bruno De Carmo becoming the sacrificial lamb for Delente out here today. Looked like he had at least a podium in the bag. Unfortunately, with just a few laps left, This is his heat number 2 over in the books. He's going to have to just try and make up at least one more position to try and get more points. But now it's going to be the battle going on. Kieran Harrison in third, trying to take it back from Gael Valero. This is what TCR is all about, folks. The absolute just danger. We knew it was going to happen. And we see Gonzalo Fabi also lurking in the background, wanting to get that podium. You know that he's hungry, but we might have to take a replay of this coming up soon just to see exactly from a different angle how that unfolded between those two drivers. But right now, it's all Kieran Harrison, Gael Valero for that second place position.
Let's have a look then at the replay between Bruno De Carmo and Kieran Harrison, and you can just see sort of just connected together really, and De Carmo was chucked off the circuit. Harrison very lucky. Very lucky to still be in this battle for second place. But yeah, you could kind of see it coming as they went side by side in towards that section of circuit, and that is an intriguing one between them. We will let them debunk that one. Here is another we're having a look. Here's another replay, or is it? No, we're back to live. Never mind. This is Gael Valero and Kieran Harrison still fighting for second. Victor Miranda, I have to say, Kevin, is in a great spot now after all that. 5.1 up the road. Well, you definitely take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at that incident going on, I mean, really, it's just kind of those two stuck together like glue. So that one, we'll have to see again if the racing stewards are going to have anything to say from it. From my point of view, it does look like that was just hard racing, a bit of a racing incident. Of course, the all-famous iRacing glue. Whenever you guys get a little bit too close to another driver, I've had that happen to me. I think that was my very first race ever in AMX out at NASCAR. Right off the bat, went and just getting very close to another driver, and it looked like it was a magnet between us. Got sent right into the wall. But back to what's going on out here. I mean, Gael Valero, Kieran Harrison now showing quite a lot of pace out here. Sector 1, Sector 2, both of them doing a better job than Victor Miranda. But I think with only a couple laps left out here, that 5-second gap, Victor Miranda pretty much might as well have this one in the bag so long as he is able to keep it clean, does not make any mistakes, and stays on his line.
Yeah, and Harrison is going to keep trying to pressure Gael Valero into a mistake. Harrison knows that the first section of the circuit, not really a viable overtaking opportunity. He's going to have to try wait for maybe the back part. Maybe could try it into turn number 1 if he got a great slipstream. I think that's what his goal is going to be now. And you can see Valero and Harrison that little bit slower than Miranda on the last lap. Or they're all lapping about dead evens, actually. Valero and Harrison are actually a little bit quicker than Miranda that last lap. So ignore what I'm saying. But all pretty much even. No big deficit or big gain for any of the three. Which it goes to show how well Miranda has driven this race. And himself and De Carmo both started at both finished at the back in the last heat, got to start up the front, and they were able to defend up the front. And we saw a trend of that maybe in heat number 1 as well, Kevin, and this TCR car, that if you start at the front, you can kind of keep it there regardless of pace.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, typically in a normal fashion, qualifying is a huge deal out at Imola, but since we do have that top 15 reverse grid, I think that's really what makes these drivers have to be that much more patient. Of course, it's really just expecting and trying to kind of force their way in, or just really wait for those drivers, try to play the mind game a little bit to get them to make a mistake out here. You know, some of these drivers, of course, it's a lot harder when you have guys like Gael Valero, Kieran Harrison, absolute iRacing veterans out here. We've seen both of them season after season just put it on, being atop the leaderboards no matter what car they're in, no matter what track they're at. So this is definitely two titans of the sport, showing why they are the best of the best. Victor Miranda now, still the gap is slowly closing, but with only about a lap and a half left, I think there's plenty of time for these guys. There's not plenty of time for them to really make a move, especially if they're going to be battling it out. Plenty of time for Victor Miranda to really just lock it in, as now we see they're coming onto the home stretch. Victor Miranda looking very promising. The white flag is out. Let's see if Kieran Harrison going to be making the move here very soon. It is now or never for Kieran Harrison.
Let's have a look then down towards the first corner. Is Harrison going to go for it? Of course he is. Late braking into Tamburello, but not close. enough holds off. Kieran Harrison will just stay behind in third. And Gael Valero has survived the attack for now, but will there be further attacks towards the Varante Villeneuve, maybe in towards Tosa, maybe in towards the back part of the section, down to the Ravazzas. For now, it is still Valero who is out on top, and Harrison just doesn't look close enough here. Seems to have his confidence gone, maybe just a little bit since that failed attempt on DeCarmo. Or what, says Kieran Harrison. Absolutely incorrect. His bravery still well intact, but still not able to get the move done.
Yeah, right there, like we said, on the home stretch, that was really where he probably had to make the move stick. But of course, Gael Valero, he said, you're going to challenge me, I'm going to challenge you right back. You want to get onto the brakes late, I will get onto the brakes later. Hold my line. He is doing an absolute great job of defending out here today. So, like we said, only about half a lap left for these guys to go. It's looking very much in favor of Gael Valero. Kieran Harrison going to have to pull out something out of his hat if he wants to make this stick. Well, once again, Gael Valero, one of the best defenders in the game, as he's just holding onto his rear bumper. Like I said, really trying to make a mistake, force the mistake on Gael Valero. Still plenty of gap for Victor Miranda to look like he may be walking away with this win out here, Evan.
Yeah, Miranda's going to walk away, but this one I didn't. Harrison's committed to the 8 here of Ravazza. Valero has to take the defensive line. And look at this from Kieran Harrison. He's really giving it everything for that second place. It won't happen, however, unless he can get the run out of the final corner. It's going to be Victor Miranda who's going to win it, but it will be a drag race between Gael Valero and Kieran Harrison. Valero has that closer inside line. He'll get second. Harrison will have to, or will he? Oh, that got very close at the end. Valero will get second. Harrison will get third, and then it will be Fabian Mersenje fourth and fifth. A very, very exciting ending.
And talk about a photo finish there at the end between Gael Valero, Kieran Harrison. Only 0.02 of a second separating them. We've seen Kieran Harrison at the last moment upset before out here in AMX, almost having it again. Man, that is probably one of, if not the closest finish that we have had out here at AMX. Definitely the closest finish of the season. Might be one of the closest finishes we've ever had. But here we see as Gaston Kulavi now making his way across. Evandro Dantas still a back marker, which looks like there was a bit of confusion going on when he hit the pits. Somehow Evandro Dantas ended up on wet tires. We'll have to see exactly how that happened. A bit of miscommunication between him and the pit crew, but nonetheless, a great job. Victor Miranda having his teammate out there. Bruno DeCarmo unfortunately getting spun out, getting put out of the race from being on that podium in heat number 2.
Yes, your PenQ session winner, Victor Miranda, followed by Kieran Harrison in second, followed by Kieran Harrison in second. So we did actually get the position. Gael Valero then in third, Gonzalo Fabi in fourth with the fastest lap bonus, Jackson Mersenje in fifth, then Alberto Senao in sixth, Maurizio Lozano in seventh, Bruno DeCarmo in eighth, ahead of Pedro Dean in ninth, and Diogo Villarreal in 10th, Gaston Calhavi 11th, Mandro Dantas in 12th, and that is it for Imola, folks. But we do have more action to look forward to in Mugello in a couple of moments. Kevin, I assume we think it's going to be just as entertaining.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, especially out here, a little bit different, a lot more passing opportunities in these cars out in Mugello. And I was just taking a look at the timing screen. So what we've seen there in the results, Kieran Harrison gained second place, and what we're seeing in the other live timing. So I think that is definitely going to be one that the officials are going to have to review just to make sure who indeed came across. We've seen 0.02 of a second on one timing screen. We've seen about 100th of a second on another timing screen. So definitely, like I said, photo finish, that one may have to be under review. But I think no doubt Kieran Harrison doing an absolutely great job all day today. I feel like nonetheless maybe coming out of here our overall winner today.
Could well be, but he will have to try again in Mugello to see if he can reach those heights. And folks, we will have 2 more TCR races and qualifying coming up at another famous Italian circuit in a couple of moments. While you're bored waiting, make sure to check out all our social media channels, which you can find in the link in the description. You can see below myself and Kevin's names. But we won't be gone for too long. We will catch you in a couple of moments for more AMX10 action.
Max Verstappen back into first place. They want to make that move, but here goes Gustavo Ariel diving to the inside. Gael Valero looking for the move over Archie Neumann. He has it.
And you can just see Beto Zuba pushing Florian Labigra right over.
Oh, Chris Lallum, he does make that pass.
Gael Valero doing his best on the outside, gets sideways, and no, the teammates crash. We had the number 11 going right there. 3 wide out there in the middle of the field through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
Towards the Nicky Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash.
2 wide now, door to door. Max Verstappen to Vanderdantis. Max Verstappen able to safely rejoin. Slots it right in front of another car.
Carousel immediately, he gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone off, he's been tapped, and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin, oh no!
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lallum does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lallum seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lallum takes it.
Miranda Pedro Zuba into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers, coming up to the cutting.
David Todd making his way back up, has already climbed 7 positions.
Oh, I spoke too soon there. Sandy goes up.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Toth passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to lead? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Toth right now going into the pit lane.
We go racing for heat number 1 here in Austria over AMX20 in towards the Niki Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash. That's a huge lunge from Gaston Calabi, and he's made contact with, I believe, oh wow, it's a chaotic moment here. No slipstream in front for either car, and you can just see Beth Silva pushing Florian Lamigra right over.
Here we go then, Valeri, he looks left, he looks right, he's got to choose the right hand side, which is the inside going 8 to 10 3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. And it's looking like it's only going one way. David Todt is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Todt has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
And a big welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to AMX Season 6. We are here just close to Scapiera, Florence, Tuscany, Italy, at the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello for race 11 of AMX Season 6 here in the AMX10 class. It is our second TCR Class race this evening, our second TCR Class race in Italy this evening, and we will have our third and fourth heats if you'd like to speak here at this great circuit. My name is Evan Dalton. It's a pleasure to have you back with us tonight, folks. And still alongside me is the fabulous Kevin Garcia. And Kevin, we're in for some more interesting action.
Definitely, especially getting to see the show that was put on. We had a photo finish in heat number 2 going on last race. I expect more of the same to be going on. Of course, Kieran Harrison looking like he came away with the overall win and a tie for second place overall between Victor Miranda and Gael Valero. So I'm already looking to see who's out on the track. I don't see Kieran Harrison out there right now. So that's going to be great news for some of the other drivers, as he was absolutely dominant early on in the day.
Yes, he was. We have a small but very talented grid here at Mugello, and it'll be very interesting to see what they can do. Once again, folks, make sure you do check out all our social media partners, which are listed along the bottom of the screen: the Instagram, Twitch, X, Discord, YouTube and TikTok accounts, of course, as well as amxrace.com if you're interested in taking part, or you just want to see the schedule or the standings. All available there. But before we do get underway in qualifying, we have just a little bit to run you through. AMX Sim Racing World Championship, of course, started September 7th. It'll end on November 17th, and we will hand out $11,000 plus a lot of next level racing gear in the meantime. The most races in a year, and of course a fabulous variety of car and track combinations as ever. Race format for tonight: 20-minute qualifier, top 15 then will be reversed for a 30-minute heat, and then we will have the top 15 reversed again for another 30-minute heat. The prize amounts for every standing are the same for every session. Driver cams are required, of course, and drivers can join via the AMX Discord or website. Balances over $100 are paid out at the end of each month, and of course we race on Saturdays and Sundays once again for this season. You can race on Saturdays and Sundays as well this season by signing up anytime. The schedule, of course, we have AMX 0 and AMX 5 on at 5:50 PM and 7:10 PM GMT, and then it'll be a AMX 10 race, such as this weekend at 5:50 PM and 7:30 PM, and then the next weekend it will be AMX 0 and AMX 5 once again on the Saturday, but then an AMX 15 longer endurance at 5:50 PM on the Sunday, and that they will swap every single weekend. The prize pool then, we have $15 on the line for your BenQ session winner. After every session, it's the same for qualifying heat number 1 and heat number 2, and then it is as follows: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 454, 353, 252, 151. And then the only change from the 2 heats to qualifying is that there's $2 added for the fastest lap. The minimum road rating is 3,000, and the total per race that can be, that is handed out is $500. And now to take you through the famous Mugello circuit as well as the TCR cars, I'll hand it back over to Kevin.
Thank you, Evan. Absolutely. Like I said, this is my personal favorite track out in Italy, the Mugello circuit. So back out in Tuscany, Italy this weekend. Man, it is going to be a good one. Back out in Florence, Italy, opened in 1974. It boasts a length of 5.2 kilometers, or about 3.25 miles out here at the full layout. So definitely not probably the most popular Italian track, but with the wide sweeping corners, it's going to make for a perfect car combination out here today. And speaking of the cars, we got to see them already early on, the TCR vehicles. Of course, we have the likes of the Honda Civic, Hyundai Veloster, and Elantra in, as well as Audi RS3. So we'll have to see if we get any Audis out there today, but they range anywhere from 315 to 350 horsepower going down through those front wheels, and they range anywhere from about 1,200 to 1,500 kilograms going through that sequential gearbox. So the beautiful sounds, everyone loves the way that those straight cut gears sound. I know I do. But I think, Evan, it's about time that we check in to see where our drivers are in qualifying.
Yes, we have qualifying, of course, before we get our 2 heats underway. A 20-minute qualifying, we are into it now. Only 9 drivers out on track, unfortunately. There's a bit of information if you want it once again. Only 9 drivers out on track, unfortunately, but hopefully they can still provide some entertainment for us here this evening. The quickest of the bunch is a very familiar name. It is double champion Gael Valero, driver for the AMX Racing team, the overall winner in Season 5 and Season 4. He's just heading down through Casanova and into Savelli, the left-hander, and up towards Arrabbiata 1 and Arrabbiata 2. We will be on board with plenty of drivers throughout this qualifying session. 5.245 kilometers, 15 corners, 6 to the left and 9 to the right. Road races were first held on the public roads around Mugello in the 1920s, would you believe, and the Mugello Road Circuit race finished in 1970 actually, so they got a good 50 years out of it, and then of course moved to the present day Mugello circuit from 1973, and it is a beautiful area, this in the Tuscany region, absolute stunning. So if you're ever planning to conveniently have a scenic trip away but you're secretly going to sneak off to watch some motorsport, here is a good place to do it.
And for all those watching live, you can scan the QR code that pops up on the screen, get a lot more information on these drivers. And right now, looking like Jackson Asenge, Mauricio Lozano, Evandro Dantas, 3 drivers yet to set an official time, but we are on board right now following Jackson Asenge, see where he's going to land up on the leaderboards. We know that he's one of these drivers, got to see him earlier on, setting some pretty fast lap times out at Imola, and it bumps him up. His first official lap time, a 2:01.205, setting him solidly in 3rd place.
Yeah, good lap there by Resenge. Current order is Valero, Miranda, Resenge, Kilhavy, and Bruno De Carmo, Pedro Dean. Then it is Villarreal, and then no laps on the board from Maurizio Lozano and Evandro Dantas. So all 9 raced in Imola. They're out here again in Mugello. We have lost Kieran Harrison and 1 more who unfortunately won't be, or 2 more actually, who won't be taken to the track, it seems, here in Mugello. This is Gael Valero that you're looking at, current quickest in the session. He had a decent time in Imola, but got 3rd in the second heat. Well, 2nd or 3rd, that one's to be debated by the officials, but he's just heading through the back part of the lap. And I was just going to say, we might run on board and run through a lap with Gael Valero, the double AMX champion and the Frenchman. So you got to just maximize your exit out of this final corner when you're getting prepared to go for a lap. Very important, because it is an extremely long run from the apex of turn number 15 down towards the braking zone of turn number 1. And Gael Valero gets a nice exit out of it now and continue. Well, that's utterly disappointing.
And looking at the other couple of drivers that we are not seeing out here on the grid right now, looks like that's going to be the likes of Alberto Senao and Gonzalo Fabi. So those 2 drivers battling it out early on, and unfortunately not seeing them out here for the second half of the doubleheader. Right now we're seeing Diego Villarreal currently in 7th place. A little bit slower of a lap time, but like I said, definitely a lot of these drivers, they have to go. The contrast between Imola and Mugello is pretty wide. I mean, this one a little bit bigger of a track in terms of the width, kind of going down the turns, a lot more elevation change. So definitely, although they're in the same cars out here, we got to see one person who was not in the Audi early on. That would be Gael Valero. So the lone Audi driver out here today. Not sure if that is really going to make a huge difference or not. I mean, we'll have to wait until the race time, but so far, Gael Valero is still holding on to that fastest lap time in the Audi. As now we're coming up about halfway through this, and you can see, a beautiful shot there from Diego Villarreal, just absolutely sliding, chucking the rear end around those corners. So that is one great thing. Although these cars are front-wheel drive and tend to understeer quite a bit, if you're able to just lift off throttle, get that back end to kick around on some of these corners, that is going to be the fastest way through, as Diego Villarreal, unfortunately, going a little bit wide there into the gravel trap, going to be throwing this lap away.
Yes, a beautiful shot there of Diego Villarreal, and no, we don't just mean the beard. The car looking excellent as well, and it's interesting to have 3 manufacturers on display, because we didn't earlier. We have Audi, we have Hyundai, and we have Honda. The Audi RS3, of course, the car of choice by Gael Valero. It's the oldest TCR car on iRacing. It's a 2-litre turbocharged motor, and it actually has a DSG gearbox, and if you wonder what that means, it doesn't have a clutch. Actually, it does not have a clutch, but all TCR cars, I should say, have launch control, so it doesn't lose out on the starts in that regard. Why Valero, I think, likes the Audi is it is more natural, I suppose, it's a more natural progression for sports car drivers to sort of swap between the two. Valero, of course, you would have seen him in AMX20 and every event last year. Likes his GT3s, his GTEs, maybe even a little bit of his Grand Touring prototypes, his hypercars. So it's easier for him to transfer from one to another. I think that's why he likes the Audi. Hondas are going to struggle around here because the Honda, it does lose out on the top speed. It has a slow top speed, but it is stable over the curbs, which will help it heading through the first sector, the Lucho and the Poggio Secchio sections of the circuit. It will benefit there. But yeah, it's interesting to see the choice, as Jackson Resenje is currently purple in the second sector. You can see him heading down towards, this is turn number 12, I believe, in towards the Biondetti chicane, turn number 13 and 14, and down towards Lucine, which is the turn number 15, long sweeping left-hander. Very important corner this. Make sure you just get a nice run through it. Different approaches taken by different drivers as well, so we'll have to keep an eye out on that. Some like to run wide, but Jackson Resenje has a nice knack of it and gets a very good exit. Runs across the Italian flag coloured paint to the right hand side of the pit lane, and he will come across the start-finish line. Is Resenje going to be able to go quickest and top the timing order? He is. Great lap from Resenje. Beats Valero.
Absolutely, and just seen from that on board, you get to see a slightly different line than what these guys would be taking in something like a Formula F4 car. Of course, I was mentioning this earlier when we were out at Imola. One of my favorite moments, I'd say ever, that has been broadcasted from AMX was when Team Redline was hosting their Real Racers Never Quit event. They were out here at Mugello in the Formula cars, and again, a 3-way battle. So we got to see a 3-way battle yesterday during AMX 0 in the Formula Vs. So there's plenty, no matter what, guys, after the race, there's plenty of content out on our YouTube channel. And speaking of YouTube, make sure you follow on there, subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitch, turn on your notifications. That way you can get here when we go live every single time. I know last season we started doing some giveaways too, so make sure to tune into our social medias as well. See whenever we do our giveaways, our highlights, replays, all of the lot, as well as, definitely one of the big things I'd say is coming up pretty soon. I think we have some pretty big announcements coming down the line as well, so make sure to stay tuned to all of that to get the first info on it. But right now, still on board with Bruno De Carmo. We'll have to see where the Delinta Esports drivers, of course, Bruno De Carmo having a great race last time at Imola, only to get a little bit hunted, a bit of a racing incident perhaps between him and Kieran Harrison, which ended his heat number 2 earlier. So looking to redeem himself out here. Victor Miranda now up into second place. Bruno De Carmo up to 4th place. Looking pretty good so far out here for the Delinta drivers, Evan.
Yeah, looking very good for the nation of Brazil as well, who are currently 1, 2 and 4. De Carmo, you can see there, just looking to try and regain some form after that hampered Imola race, as Kevin said. The corner he is currently heading through is the Borgo San Lorenzo, and that is one corner that does not follow the Mugello rule. I'm going to ask Kevin first. Do you know what the Mugello corner rule is? That's not his official name, by the way. I'm just giving it that.
No, I don't know the actual Mugello corner rule, Evan.
Well, all the corners, bar that one, are named after local farms in the area that existed before the track was built and / or 20th century MotoGP riders in the case of Borja San Lorenzo. So that is the difference there. So they're all the corners are named after farms. So some local farmer had his Arrabbiata farm where he grew wheat or wine or something, or pizza or something of the sorts, and that is what the corners are named after. So there's a bit of Mugello trivia. Don't worry, there's plenty where that came from throughout the evening, folks. But with about 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go in qualifying, all the drivers are out pushing. One driver who has not set a lap, however, is currently in 9th place. That's Evandro Dantas, who has not got a lap on the board. So hopefully he can get some time in and we see a bit of a quali shootout.
And speaking of races being hosted out here, so it would be very curious to see if Formula One ever puts Mugello back on the schedule. Of course, we got to see a few years ago, they were out here, you know, of course, COVID being a huge issue with that, really just led the perfect way for them to use this track to get equipment. I mean, not really having to host that many people in the crowd, of course, during COVID. It was a crazy time for us all, but Formula One being able to race out here. And I think, you know, between the drivers, not really preferring Imola, we've had quite a bit of drivers having to say, you know, whether or not they like or dislike Imola, if it should be on the calendar. I think I would love to see Imola get a permanent position on the Formula One calendar, as well as a lot of other places. It would be very interesting to be seeing more races out here. WEC, of course, you can see pretty recently out here in the States. I mean, just so many different forms of motorsports seem to really be gaining a lot of tractions, especially I mean, I won't say any more traction than normal, but out here in the United States, we're definitely starting to see a bit of resurgence in worldwide motorsports.
Yeah, of course, it seems like IMSA is at an all-time high in the States, and certainly the World Endurance Championship since their change to the hypercar, seeing an awful lot of success. And Le Mans, of course, this year, absolute cracker with so many manufacturers, and we imagine it's going to be just as good next year. And if you're a fan of endurance, well, make sure you tune into AMX next week for the mini enduro AMX 15. AMX 15. Make sure you do check that out next week. But 70 minutes 30 on the clock, or 70 minutes 40 on the clock here in qualifying out of 20. Pedro Dean, who we are currently looking at, and that's a very unusual looking Hyundai livery. You don't usually see Hyundais painted red. They're very much fond of their darker colours for their motorsport schemes. And speaking of the World Endurance Championship, this ties in very nicely. Hyundai's sports brand Genesis have announced an entry for next season, so make sure you do check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. We'll be seeing the Hyundai badge on Global Motorsport even more. And for now, however, it seems like they will be taking 1-2 as well, because Victor Miranda, Jackson Resenje, both seem to be comfortable with their qualifying lap so far, unless Gael Valero has something else to say about that in the Audi.
Yeah, it's definitely great to be showing so many things out in motorsports from Hyundai. Like I said, Hyundai, we haven't really seen them get any of the Kia vehicles out there. Not sure if they'll ever do that. Really focusing on the N branding, as well as, like you said, now Genesis. I'm really excited to see what their hypercar does in the future, as well as what color they're going to choose. I mean, I hear the Hyundai, for the N, they have the performance blue. That's kind of their signature color. Of course, now getting involved in electric vehicle racing as well. So, I mean, just all over the place, been dominating it out in the WRC over the past few years. So really great things coming out of South Korea. We'll have to wait and see, as well as in the digital realm, to see what more we can expect. Like I said, the Hyundai's being some of the more recent cars being added to iRacing. No doubt the Genesis, once that hits the WC and IMSA, that car will be added to iRacing as well. But right now, just under a minute left. We're on board Gael Valero trying to get out of that third place position, and he does. Able to get up into P2, so looking very good. The Frenchman able to break up the top three from the Brazilians, putting that Audi back on into the second place position on the podium.
Yes, that was our final timed run of the day. Evandro Dantas won't get a timed lap on the board, so that will be qualifying. And Valero, despite being the double champ here in AMX, will not be able to take the $15 prize pool for qualifying here in Mugello, but it'll be interesting to see what he can do from the back of the grid here in race 11 as the Italian air display team flies overhead. we will see your full qualifying session results. And there is a beautiful cathedral, which I'm going to guess located in the city of Florence, or Firenze. If you are Italian, you will know that it has two names. Your BenQ session winner is Jackson Versenje, however, not an Italian, a Brazilian. Gael Valero then in second, Victor Miranda in third, and it is Bruno De Carmo, Gaston Culhavi, Pedro Dean, Maurizio Lozano, Diego Villarreal, and Evandro Dantas down in ninth.
And absolutely, I mean, being out in Italy today, it would be great to see some Italian drivers out on the field. But unfortunately, we might just have to catch up later on. Of course, TCR, I mean, I'd say not probably the most popular of the car classes out in Italy. I mean, it's safe to say with Ferrari being there, especially earlier on, you know, we were out at Imola, kind of the home track of Ferrari, as well as you see Monza, all the different places out there. We'll have to see, but for right now, the Brazilians doing an excellent job. We got to see yesterday during AMX 0, AMX 5, them putting on a show as well. So nonetheless, we're getting ready as the drivers now moments away from the green flag.
Yes, we are moments away. Well, we are literally away as we go racing here in Mugello. Brilliant start by the second place man. That is Maurizio Lozano down towards the first corner, down towards San Donato for the first time. He's looking to try and make the move on Evandro Dantas around the outside, and Lozano is able to break later, commit more into the apex, and he has got the job done. Bruno De Carmo and Pedro Dean side by side in the exit of the corner, and Dean looking to continue and into third place. They're still side by side in the apex. Bruno De Carmo, is he able to keep the car in? Was involved in a couple of first lap collisions earlier on this evening. Is he going to be involved in one now? No, it's all safely through the Borja San Lorenzo down towards, through turn number 3, now in towards turn number 4 in the Borja San Lorenzo. They're all safely through, still 2 by 2.
And just like that, a bit of a contact going on in the rear. So that looks like that was Kulavi and Jackson Asenje. So now Gael Valero kind of right in the middle of those guys now. So we have the two start drivers towards the back of the pack. Let's see if them being able to work together to get through. But Gael Valero so far up 1 position. Kulavi down several positions. Already Diego Villarreal down 7. So a lot going on just through the first few turns out here today. Maurizio Lozano trying to capitalize on that already, over a second gap between himself and second place. And now the battle is ensuing as these guys start forming a bit of a train out here. Pedro Dean still pretty solid in that third place position, trying to hunt down Evandro Dantas. And now side by side to the inside move right there, looking beautiful from Bruno De Carmo. Will he be able to make a stick? Pedro Dean just going a bit wide out there, so now giving up a couple positions to the Delinta Esports drivers.
Yes, still Lozano that leads. Then it's Dantas, De Carmo, Miranda. Great start for Bruno De Carmo, who's gained 3 spots, as well as Victor Miranda. Jackson Versenje, though, he's gone 1 better. He's gained 4. The number 1 is up to 5th, and he's rounding past Pedro Dean. Dean trying to hang it around the outside, out of Busin and down the long straight for the first time. The motorcycle racers here get up to almost 350 kilometers per hour. We're not quite at that in the TCRs, but they're dicing. And there's contact made. No, that's a horrible place to have an incident. Contact made on the straight. Dean and Resenje have absolutely styled it out, though. How are they running in the same direction? That is something you'd see out of a Fast and Furious movie. Ultra impressive, almost disastrous.
And just like that, like I've said time and time before, Pedro Dean, I think, might just unfortunately be one of the unluckiest drivers on the grid. We'll have to see if those guys, they went 3 wide, just the littlest a bit of just banging on the doors and sent into a full spin, luckily able to recover it. Man, we might have to get Pedro Dean signed out here for a stunt driver with that kind of save.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. That is incredible how they're all still within 5 seconds at the back of the pack. How one of them hasn't sustained major damage and hit the wall. When I saw 3 of them almost spinning the straight, I thought, well, this is going to be a 6-car race to the finish. But no, unbelievable, absolutely magnificent, and that really is a piece of driving excellence to all survive that one. More driving excellence looking to be had here for Victor Miranda, who is up 4 spots. Bruno De Carmo up 4 spots as well. They are trying to dice for second place in the battle for 4th. Dantas, Culhavi, Valero. Gael Valero looking to round through, although a little bit wide in the apex for Dantas. That's going to allow Gaston Colhavi in the SART livery to almost make a move on Evander Dantas. You're looking back on the Audi of Gael Valero, and here comes Gaston Colhavi, the Argentine, going to try down the inside in towards turn number 15. It's a late braking move for Gaston Colhavi. He's going to be doing very well to get the exit here. He has. He's forced Dantas wide onto the marbles, and he does not get the run from the corner. That allows Valero through as well. Now it's Valero's turn to tuck into the toe.
Absolutely, and it looks like Valero got the best line through there, able to carry the most speed. And right here, once he gets in the toe, we'll see as he goes to the outside, is he going to have enough speed to hold it around the outside? This is definitely one of those out here on Mugello coming into this turn, and Gael Valero slots back in, making it look too easy. So Gaston Colhavi dropping back down into 5th place. Gael Valero able to get it all the way up into 4th place over these last few turns.
Yes, Gaston Colhavi still looking to try and keep the pressure on the Audi in front, but Valero very quick through this section of the circuit, as we saw, and he will be looking to try and charge forward, get close to Victor Miranda, Bruno De Carmo and Maurizio Lozano. One talking point in Imola earlier, of course, was pit stops. I imagine we might see something similar here, Kevin.
Absolutely, but here looking at another view from that picture-in-picture, seeing Pedro Dean just on the inside. It looks like, ooh, wow, right there. Unfortunately, he almost escaped it, almost got completely sent into the wall as well. So right there, just absolutely crazy from going on. That looks like Jackson Asenje, of course, the #1 in the Delinta Esports car out there. It looked like he was going a little bit on the outside, so I'm not sure, again, what the officials might have to say about that, if there was a little bit them getting aggressive, or if it was perhaps just one of those, you know, they had that iRacing glue that we got to see out at Imola. When you just get a little bit too close to another driver, sometimes your cars just stick together like magnets. Unfortunately, Pedro Dean almost getting the worst of that, getting so close to getting sent into the barrier, but having the full spin, making it back out on track. Those guys, of course, still sitting in the back of the pack. So Jackson Asenje now 28 seconds back. Does look like he pretty much had to hit the pits after that one. So we'll see Jackson Asenje, first driver to hit the pits. Like you mentioned, Evan, will these guys have enough fuel to make it out here? Not too sure with a fast track like this.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I don't think they will have enough, to be honest. I think they'd be pushing it if they did. So yeah, we'll probably have to make a pit stop, and Mercedes decide he's going to call the shots early, and he'll be the man to go for the extreme undercut on everyone else. And it is Maurizio Lozano who still leads at Bruno De Carmo and then Victor Miranda. A reminder, your prize pool there in the insert on the right hand side. It's Valero there in 4th, then Colhavi, Dantas, Villarreal, Dean and Jackson Mersenje. I tell you what, we might only have 9 drivers, but it's been a hectic start to the race. Victor Miranda has managed to get past his teammate Bruno De Carmo. That looked fairly simple. I wonder, was there a tactical element to that?
Yeah, we'll have to see on that with the, I mean, what we got to see earlier on in Imola, definitely the strategy paying off for some of these drivers, looking a little bit similar to what we have now. Victor Miranda leading in front of Bruno De Carmo. Of course, Bruno De Carmo hitting the pits early with most of the drivers. Victor Miranda going for the overcut, and that left just enough time for Bruno De Carmo to kind of slow down the rest of the pack for when Victor Miranda hit his pit stop. So I'm not sure if they're going to try and use that exact same strategy out here. If I was them, I mean, hey, it worked once for them. Why not give it a go again?
Yeah, it was a mix of strategies earlier in Imola. In the first heat we saw the undercut powerful, in the second heat we saw the overcut, so might be something similar here in Mugello. The second heat could certainly be different to the first heat. We're currently 4 laps into our first heat of 15, so make sure you stock up on your popcorn and beverages now, folks, because we're in for the long run here. We have plenty more action coming up tonight here on AMX Race 11, and plenty more action coming up next week as well. Return of AMX 0 and AMX 5, and then the AMX 15 longer enduro, so make sure you are checking that out as well at the times we discussed earlier. Top 4 all within very close proximity, as you can see them head down towards San Donato.
So here we go, folks. It is now lap number 5 of 15. We are officially about a third of the way through this heat number 1, and like we said, there are no mandatory pit stops out here in AMX 10. However, what we've seen kind of be consistent throughout every single race is these drivers not really having enough fuel. So if you see them hit the pit lanes like now, we do see Pedro Dean currently still in the pit lane. We might have to see kind of what the delta is later on. I know the actual time that they've been in there has been roughly about 6 seconds so far from the two drivers, the actual pit stops. So it's a pretty great pit crews out there making about 6-second pit stops in these sorts of cars. Of course, no tire changes out here today, just a little bit of a splash and dash, enough fuel just to get all the way through these 15 laps, roughly 30 minutes out here. But Mauricio Lozano still doing an amazing job since early on, holding on to that lead position. But Victor Miranda now absolutely putting the pressure on him. Like I said, a lot of this is a mind game out here in the TCR cars. A lot of it, you have to be extremely patient, extremely aggressive at certain times, and know when you have to really switch it up. So right now, Victor Miranda doing a great job trying to get Mauricio Lozano to force a mistake and taking advantage of it.
Yeah, he's all over the rear view mirrors of Maurizio Lozano, looking to try and force a mistake in towards the turn 12 hairpin, I should say. Might try a move down towards the first corner. As you can see in the split times in the bottom of your screen, Miranda quicker in both the first and second sectors. Only 3 sectors on this Mugello circuit as opposed to Imola earlier, where we had 5, I think. For whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure. Mugello is actually longer, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Here is Victor Miranda, however, has got a good run on the back of Maurizio Lozano, and he will now have a monster slipstream down towards the apex of the first corner. Pitter, Gael Valero comes in, but here comes the Brazilian, Victor Miranda. He's going to try it. Will it be the outside or the inside? He'll go for the outside in towards San Donato. Sometimes a very doable move, and it's not even going to matter because he has the slipstream over Lozano. Victor Miranda is into the race lead here in heat number 1.
So just like that, we have Mauricio Lozano down into second place, being sandwiched between the two Brazilian teammates. Of course, Victor Miranda, Bruno De Carmo. It looks like Victor Miranda has just slightly been faster out here. Of course, I mean, the biggest thing, they both want to be in a 1-2 for their team. They love to make it a 1-2-3, but unfortunately, they have their other teammates, you know, like I said, just getting into a bit of an accident. That would be Jackson Asenji, still currently in 9th place, but like we've seen before, I think Jackson knows, all right, he got into a bit of an incident earlier on. He's just going to try and cruise it out, try to get his overall points for the season and come back. Again, that top 15 reverse grid going into heat number 2. All of these drivers out on track will be making the reverse grid. So Jackson Senji might just be hanging on to the back of the pack so he can get pole position for heat number 2.
Yeah, remember, we usually have a top 15 reverse grid, so that whoever finishes 15th will start first, but because we don't have 15 drivers tonight, it'll be whoever finishes last starts first. So Jackson Mersenje and Pedro Dean and still have something to race for, but there's a lot to race for here in this race. We're not even halfway through this one yet, so they still have plenty to come up. Maurizio Lozano, though, in the black and pink, surrounded by the black and yellow. Wonder when these guys will decide to pull into the pits. We kind of saw it within the last 5 laps of the race earlier in Imola, Kevin. I imagine it's probably going to follow a similar theme, and they'll do something the same.
Yeah, I have a feeling just as you say that, we have the two Delita Esports, followed by Gaston Kulavi right in behind them. So we've got 3 drivers now. I was about to say, I'm expecting it to be roughly around the halfway point, and here we are, starting lap number 7 out of 15. These guys really trying to get there. We'll see. Again, I think just having Mauricio Lozano in between the two Delita Esports drivers kind of left a little bit too much space. I mean, there's too many variables of going on what's there. I'm sure these guys are on comms with their own teammates, but I think that was a smart move right there, knowing that, okay, they both have the pace. They both went in at the same time, and they know that they'll be leading this once they come back out. So it's really going to be Mauricio Lozano going to have a perfect drive. We'll see when he pits. If he sees right there the other driver in front of him pit, maybe going to wait one more lap, or if he's going to wait until the very end. So I think Mauricio Lozano, it would help if he had a teammate, but now we have a battle going on between Gael Valero and Victor Miranda.
Oh, contact made! Oh, that's another brilliant save from Miranda. Contact made between Valero and Miranda. Miranda looked gone, but he recovered that unbelievably. And look at this, Bruno De Carmo and Gaston Gilhavi are getting scrappy as well. This race starting to spice up. I know they say a front-wheel driven car is just as easy as slamming on the throttle to save it, but Miranda is kind of pulling out all the stops with that one. That is an incredible save, heading through turn number 2 and 3. And there was contact made. I wonder will there be a protest put in if Valero did finish ahead of Victor Miranda. But that gap was mere tenths. It's now 2 seconds. Here it is in your picture-in-picture. Oh, it's net code, really, isn't it? I'm not sure they actually made contact, but yeah, could have been a little bit of net code there.
Yeah, I mean, from seeing Gael Valero in these cars early on, he knows just how close he can get to these other drivers. So from that point of view, it did look like there was still quite a few, say probably half a meter between those two cars almost, that really just enough space that Gael Valero might have been able to get inside cleanly. But like you mentioned, it's the treacherous net code of iRacing. So they do have plans. I know I follow their developer updates that they say that is a big thing that they are working on now, hiring tons of new people from other development companies to come in here and really just make the multiplayer a lot better. Whenever you have multiple cars out here with all different kinds of internet connections, that is just unfortunately one of the most frustrating things that can happen as a driver. But here we go. Back Victor Miranda, Bruno Di Carmo, and Gaston Coulavi. We got to see them hit the pits all at the same time, and now it's paying out for all of them. I think Gaston Coulavi really may be getting the benefit more than anyone else out here, hanging on to their draft. So, like I said, we'll have to see when our top 3 end up hitting now.
We will. We have a little bit of a battle while we wait until then. Lap 8 of 15 here in heat number 1. We have another 15-minute heat coming up in a few moments. Or, sorry, well, after this one finishes. So we will have plenty more action here from the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello. If you're enjoying the action, remember to subscribe to AMX Global on all your favourite social media channels. We're there. Just got to find us. Great run for Coulavi on the back of Bruno Di Carmo, though, just not able to make a move in towards Casanova and down towards Savelli. Very difficult corners to make a move in any car, especially in a TCR car. But Coulavi is sort of shaping up nicely. He is planning the move for the next few corners. You can see by his driving, has clear pace over Bruno Di Carmo. He's just got to make it stick. Araviata 2 now, falls a little bit further behind, so Di Carmo I think is going to survive for now.
So we can see as right now, Gaston Coulavi absolutely putting the pressure on Bruno Di Carmo. Like I said, at this point, again, we've seen it time and time again. If he gives a little nod to the camera, these guys out here really putting it down, trying to be super aggressive. Again, the majority of the passing we have seen has been on the very long home straight. So I think right now, that's where he's going to be looking to make a move, trying to get a bit of a better exit coming out of the final turn. But knowing that you have a 2v1, that is not a spot that is easy to take advantage of. Whenever you have someone in the teammates, I know especially when the draft is so strong out on this home straight. But we'll see as now we're entering the final corner. Gaston Coulavi, does he have enough pace in him to be able to make the move? Of course, both of these drivers up front trying to be very defensive. So again, that's really hard to be the third position in making that move, especially when you know you don't have the downforce to really hold on to an outside move out here. When it's something like an F4, F3 car, absolutely, that outside line is completely viable, but not quite as much out here in the TCRs.
No, not quite, and Diego Villarreal came into the pit lane and dropped down the order, so we have another pitter in. We're just waiting on Lozano and Dantas now. So Valero is still the leader of the pitters. This is your theoretical battle for second. Gael Valero starting to run away at the front. The more these guys are dicing. We'll run once again from Coulavi here on the back of Di Carmo. Seems like Bruno struggling through sector 1, relatively okay through 2 and 3. That's why Miranda sort of drops him in the first part of the lap and Coulavi catches, but then it all irons out, come in towards turn number 10, 13, 14, etc. See here, he's just a little bit wide off the apex through Araviata 1, but always seems to get a nice line here through the second bit. You can see as they come over the crest of the hill, no, Coulavi's matching him now this time around. So it differs from the status quo. Coulavi might be on for a move sooner rather than later.
And still with that, we are lap number 9 of 15 out here in Heat 1 for our AMX10 race. So we've been having a bit of a world tour out here, of course, folks. Make sure the next time that we'll be racing, although, I mean, things are heating up here. Still always love to see what we got going on in the future. We're going to be heading back to the USA on our TCR World Tour, so I'm definitely getting excited for that one. Of course, it's going to be the likes of Watkins, Glen International, and Daytona. But looking right here, Kulavi looking to make the move now on the inside. We've seen a little bit wide from Bruno De Carmo, and he's able to slot it there. So the patience absolutely holding off for it. Who has the better run, though, now, as now Bruno De Carmo going to be in the draft may just put it right back to him.
Yes, patience is a virtue for Gaston Kilhavy, but can he stay in front? Here comes Bruno De Carmo, looking to attack down towards the first corner, and he will be able to commit to the inside line if he can go later on the brakes than Kilhavy. They power onto the brakes. De Carmo down the inside. It is last of the late breakers for Bruno, and Gaston Kilhavy will try the switchback. However, he has the outside line heading in towards Lucho. He has the inside now in towards Poggio Secchio, and it will be Gaston Kilhavy who comes out on top. De Carmo will have to stay behind. Brilliant move for the Argentine. He's up and ahead.
And just like that, that is just right there why this is one of my favorite tracks. Being able to see the close racing when the drivers finally get super comfortable around here, being able to pull moves like that, the switchbacks, the back and forth, being able to get the over-under, so much to be out here. So like I said, although things are slowing down a little bit, they're no longer slowing down with less than 6 laps to go out here. These drivers turning it up a bit. Like we said, still have Lozano up front, Evandro Dantas yet to hit. I have a good feeling Gael Valero only 16 seconds behind, as well as Evandro Dantas another 10 seconds. So a bit of a gap towards the front. We'll just have to wait and see exactly where these guys come out after their pits. But right now it is still Bruno De Carmo on the hunt for Gaston Kulavi. Victor Miranda, however, has seen that the battle going on behind him has left plenty of room for him to start walking away. So we'll have to see exactly where he comes out with this after he takes his pit stop. Still he already took his pit stop after the other drivers in first and second take their pit stops. Gael Valero already with over a 4-second gap. It's very much looking like Gael Valero could be taking home the win here in heat number 1.
Yeah, bearing any mistakes, it should be Valero's, because it's quite a long pit lane as well here in Mugello, given the long nature of the start-finish straight. So it should be Gael Valero's, bearing any mistakes, of course. Your fastest lap holder currently is Gael Valero as well, with a 2:01.031. He was 5 tenths off that on his last lap, but was still significantly quicker than everyone else in the field. So Gael Valero running absolutely excellently here, and I suppose that shows his prestige as champion in the last 2 seasons of AMX Global. Is the driver for Apex Racing Team, and he will be looking to try and make that 3 come the end of the season. Overall wise, he is leading it, but we're still very early on, so you can't tell too much, but we definitely know he has the ability to do so.
One thing we can tell, though, without Corentin Guinness being out here today, Aaron Vasquez, Dino Filippa, those drivers missing out on the race today is going to leave plenty of room for Gael Valero to jump straight to the top in the standings. So definitely we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that Gael Valero is capable of making another championship run out here. His biggest thing is that he is probably the most consistent driver we have out on the field. Not really missing any race in any class. So definitely a great variety driver. I know Apex Racing is very glad to have him on his team to be able to help him out there, whether it is out there. I know we had the joke going on, what is he doing with all of this next level racing gear? But he got to mention in one of our interviews that he's building some of that, building some things for his team as well as just other sim rigs. So we'll have to see as he might be making it even more next level racing gear this season. But like we said, we're only a few weeks into this thing, folks. There's still plenty of time for someone to come up in the standings and challenge him as well.
Yeah, into the pits comes Maurizio Lozano. He will drop down the order a little bit, but we will try and or he will try, I should say, and catch back up. We might actually just exit the pits in 3rd now, which would be very impressive if he could do so. Yeah, there he is on pit exit. So Maurizio Lozano, I think he's going to stay. Is he going to stay in front of Victor Miranda here? Miranda will have the momentum around the outside of the corner. Lozano not necessarily getting his tires back up to temperature immediately. So Victor Miranda now will try and fight for the final podium on the rostrum, for the final spot on the rostrum, I should say, with Maurizio Lozano. Evandro Dantas, of course, has to fall down the order as well, and I think he might fall behind these. That's a very decent strategy for Maurizio Lozano to try and get some big points here.
Yeah, so great strategies out here. So just as a reminder, Mauricio Lozano, he was sandwiched between Victor Miranda and Bruno De Carmo. So the spot right now that Gaston Coulavi is in. So it definitely helped to wait a little bit longer to take that pit stop. Had a bit of fresh air. Had that clean air in front of him to really just set down as fast as lap times that he could. But right now, speaking of fastest lap times, it is still Gael Valero with a 2 minute 1 second .031. So almost getting a sub 2 minute 1 second out here today. That guy is just absolutely blazing, and like I said, that's why he has such an advantage over these drivers, already over 5 seconds over Mauricio Lozano. So with just a few laps left and Evandro Dantas yet to pit, I mean, I'm calling it right now, Gael Valero most likely going to be your heat #1 winner.
Yes, but of course you can't celebrate too early, because we've seen that happen in motorsport before, and then, well, it all goes downhill very quickly. So Valero will still be concentrating as into the pits comes Evandro Dantas now. So he fancies getting involved in the fight. We're currently looking at Maurizio Lozano in front of Victor Miranda. There is Lozano with the number 8. Victor Miranda behind in the Delente livery. Down towards the first corner they go. It'll be interesting to see where Dantas falls into place. He's now fallen behind Valero. I assume he's going to fall behind Lozano and Miranda as well, but honestly, can't really tell sometimes, and yeah, he will fall behind the bunch. Here comes Victor Miranda though. He wants second place now. He's just about taken third, now wants second. Victor Miranda down the inside of Maurizio Lozano. Lozano just has to sit and watch. That is perfectly executed by Victor Miranda. Doesn't even give Lozano a chance into the next corner. Victor is the victor of this battle. He's into second.
And one thing looking from their setups there, as now Mauricio Lozano doing a great job, still trying to find the move, and it looks like he's going to go for it right here on the outside. So inside move again into this other right-hander, still having to slot it right back in, but like we said, once again, just trying to find any little bit of room to get on there. And I was looking at their setups a bit. I couldn't tell. I mean, I can see from Victor Miranda, he does have the triple screen setups, which is really helpful when you have someone right on the side of you trying to make those moves. I'm not sure if Mauricio Lozano is running a single monitor out here. It's hard to tell from this angle, but nonetheless, still a great job. Like we were saying earlier, folks, it doesn't really matter what equipment you have. And seen from his sim rig right there, that looks like that might also be one of the next level racing gears. It's hard to tell. I can't see the branding on the headrest, but that looks very similar to the one I have at home, as well as the steering wheel. So we'll have to see exactly where these drivers are. But like we were saying earlier, it is down to driver skill out here. It is nice to have some of the more expensive sim equipment, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what can you do with that equipment. Mauricio Lozano showing exactly what he can do out here. Great battle still going on between himself and Victor Miranda.
As they are heading into the final chicane, or the final corner on the circuit. They've just came through the final chicane. We will have 2 more laps after this one, lap 14 and lap 15, and then we will have another 30-minute heat coming up, folks. So still plenty of action for you guys at home. Here comes Maurizio Lozano once again. They're going to try and re-overtake Victor Miranda. He's been hot on his heels since the overtake initially took place, and now down towards San Donato. Maurizio Lozano will look to make the move completed. He's going to have to brake a lot later, and Miranda, big showing of defensive action. He's making sure Lozano knows his situation in the fight, and Lozano will have to sweep it the long way here. Doesn't necessarily have the grip, especially after 14 laps of running on that outside line. And not Gael Valero, he's 7 seconds on the road. Victor Miranda will stay in front.
Just like that, so these guys leaving the door now for Gaston Coulavi to get in this fight for podium position. So with those two doing a great battle back and forth, like we said, the door is now open with about a lap and a half left out here. These guys on the penultimate lap. Let's see if Gaston Coulavi is able to take advantage of this. However, Victor Miranda now looking like he's found another gear, really just pushing it to the absolute limit out here. So I expect this to be coming down all the way past the white flag. We'll have to see if we're going to have another photo finish on our hands out here, Evan.
We could well do. We can have the picture difference deciding the podium, and they will come down to the last lap. Oh, that's very late in the brakes for Gaston Coulavi. He's making sure he has a chance in the fight as well, isn't he? Right on the tail of Maurizio Lozano. The battle for second is being fought with 1 Hyundai, 2 Hondas, which is interesting to see the difference in cars. So it will be Gael Valero well up the road. He can cruise home for the final lap, that's actually the wipers being displayed for Gaston Callavi. It's still a nice sunny day here in Mugello as they head in towards the final corner. Miranda's got a little bit up the road now. That would be under real pressure from Callavi if he doesn't get a good run out of this final corner, and the Argentine is really looking for the move, exiting the final corner for the second final time, but the most important time, dare I say. They'll head down towards the uphill right-hander. Who can make a move? Who will be latest on the brakes? Is Callavi close enough? Or Lozano will be getting a little bit of a slipstream from Miranda in front, but there you can see Lozano way slower on the last lap. Gaston Callavi, he's going to have to brave it out on the brakes. He doesn't. Lozano will stay in front.
There we see just great moves going on all around. Still, now Gael Valero leading by almost 8 seconds over Victor Miranda. Victor Miranda still has a slight gap between himself and Lozano, but here it is. This battle might be going on again. Callavi, Lozano. Can either of them make the move? Of course, they're going to have to be going super. Ooh, really close on the brakes right there. And a little bit of contact. So, Callavi with the contact right there. Lozano getting shunted off the course, leaving the door wide open for Bruno De Carmo to slot into. We'll have to see what the drivers have to say about that. Again, man, that was just a very aggressive move right there.
Very disappointing for Maurizio Lozano, who had a stellar drive to finish on the podium, but he won't. It'll be Gaston Callavi who does it. I'm not sure if that was a bit of net code, as we saw earlier, or if it was a driver error, or if it was contact, but Victor Miranda's actually ran wide himself, I should say. Let's have another look at it. This is in towards turn number 4. This is Materezzi. Yeah, there's a nudge, all right. There's definitely a nudge. And that is going to be, very disappointing for Maurizio Lozano. But these guys are heading through the final couple of corners now, and it will be Gael Valero who will once again cement himself as one of the best in AMX. He's in towards turn number 15, and he will win the first of 2 heats here at Mugello, and with this pace, he could well win the second. Up and across the line comes Gael Valero, using all the curb on the outside corner for one last time at least. He will take the victory, but it will be Victor who's behind him in second. He will come home ahead of Gaston Callavi. Controversially, Gaston, the Argentine, will come home in third. Then it'll be De Carmo, and then it will be Maurizio Lozano. But I don't think Lozano's going to be overly happy about that.
Yeah, and looking at Gael Valero there, I mean, hilariously, it does look like he's just got quite bored up at the front of the pack. I mean, you know, it's one of those that, hey, you're always great to be getting first place, but at the same time, knowing a lot of these drivers, they want to be involved in these battles. They want it to be very exciting. So Gael Valero, although making it look very easy out here, looking a bit bored as he crosses the finish line, but he's not going to be bored for very long, because now he's going back to the very back of the pack from our reverse grid, and he's going to have a chance to fight his way all the way through the rest of the pack.
Yes, we will get your full session results for heat number 1 and theoretically your grid for heat number 2. And we will get confirmation of Gael Valero's race win as we have another look at some beautiful canals and sights here in Italy. It is Gael Valero, BenQ session winner and fastest lap taker, so he took $17 from that race. Victor Miranda then in second, Gaston Callavi in third, Bruno De Carmo in fourth, Maurizio Lozano in fifth, Jackson Resenge then in sixth, Pedro Dean in seventh out of Evandro Dantas and Diogo Villarreal.
So just like that, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's very reminiscent of what we got to see last year, Formula 1. Max Verstappen just being absolutely dominant, almost had a perfect season. I think that's kind of where Gael Valero right now. Of course, hey, him being such a consistent driver, there's a lot of great battles, but he is, of course, remember everyone, back-to-back champion out here in AMX, as we are now off into heat number 2. So heat number 2 off just like that, a quick start, a great start right there by Mauricio Lozano, able to get it right up in the middle, but we'll have to see Diego Villarreal, Evandro Dantas. Now, Mauricio Lozano already up 2 positions, not even into the first big right-hander.
Yes, it is Villarreal who still leads. Some moves there for someone. Pedro Dean and Maurizio Lozano. As there we go back to the action. There is Lozano up the inside of Jackson Resenje. It is Villarreal, Dantas, Dean, Lozano, Resenje, Miranda, Valero, Kilhavi, and then problems for Bruno De Carmo, who's not got away well. Maurizio Lozano now up to third. You can see he is on a warpath, trying to get revenge for the end of heat number 1. He is up and ahead of Pedro Dean here in the number 9. Dean will be looking to try and continue. Diogo Villarreal has got a nice healthy lead, 5/10 in front. Oh, here we go, side by side into Casanova. That is Resenje getting ahead of Dean. Dean could be under pressure from Miranda then in towards Savelli in the Arrabbiatas. And look at this from Victor Miranda. Look at this from Victor Miranda, side by side into Arrabbiata 1. Will they be side by side in towards number 2? They could well be. This is the Delente car that has got the move done. Dean's lost another spot as well to the champ, Gael Valero. Unbelievable action here on lap number 1. We've got a swap for the lead as well, Dantas.
And just like that, so great moves all around from all the drivers, and still side by side going on there towards the back of the pack. Pedro Dean, Gaston Kulabi, but right now Evandro Dantas trying to make his position known, trying to get way ahead. Let's see if anyone pits with how close these battles are going. Let's see if anyone makes that first lap pit stop just to really try and get the clean air, try and get as much pace in this as they can. But like I said, looks like from what we've seen earlier on, these guys kind of trying to wait till at least almost the halfway point, just to not to have to really put as much fuel, be able to get the car a little bit lighter until they really have a great opportunity. So right now, Evandro Dantas, Diego Villarreal, Mauricio Lozano going to be leading it going into lap number 2. And there we do have it. Jackson Resenje, of course, hitting the pits, followed by his teammate Victor Miranda.
Yes, 2 diving into the pit lane. De Carmo obviously not starting. We're down to 8, but 2 have opted for the very early undercut, and that might be the race-winning strategy. We'll see come lap number 15. Villarreal still looking to attack Evandro Dantas. Down towards San Donato, turn number 1. Up towards turn number 2 of Mugello. He will get a little bit of a good exit on Evandro Dantas, and the SART driver will try and attack here. That was a bit of a disappointing heat maybe for Villarreal in heat number 1, but he's got off the mark nicely here and he'll be looking to continue. Bit of blinking for Gael Valero, that's due to his connection, so hopefully all is okay on Valero's front. We won't lose him due to a disconnect. There's a bit of blinking all around the field actually. Pedro Dean, one who is having some trouble, down in 6th spot in the red, and wide for Villarreal. This is going to allow Lozano to attack in towards the Arrabbiatas. Diogo Villarreal was nice and close to Evandro Dantas, but him putting Dantas under pressure has forced him to make a mistake.
Ooh, so just like that, like we've said all day long, those littlest of mistakes is really what's going to make or break these drivers out here. So Mauricio Lozano holding on to that 3rd place position, but like we've seen last heat's winner, Gael Valero, no doubt he is the fastest driver out here today at Mugello in that Audi. So especially these long straights giving plenty of room. So let's see if Gael Valero probably going to be looking to make a move once they head back onto the long straight. Diego Villarreal as well, very close on there, but Evandro Dantas getting almost a second gap between himself and Diego Villarreal. Dantas has a little bit more pace than Villarreal, so he is going to be glad to see them fighting behind him in his rear view.
Move from Lozano. Lozano tries down the inside, and that's very wide for Villarreal. So Lozano and Valero have got through. Diogo Villarreal will fall down to 5th place. That's very disappointing for him. He's had a horror run for the final corner. Now Gael Valero, race winner from heat number 1. He's going to try and attack Maurizio Lozano down towards the first corner, and Lozano will be looking to just keep the Frenchman, the champion, right behind. Fastest lap of the race for Gael Valero, as it's an inevitable conclusion. Valero does what he wants. Gael gets what he wants.
And knowing this right here, where he's at, I think this is going to be the strategy again. Evandro Dantas, Gael Valero probably going to be waiting till a little bit later, just depending on where their positions over these next couple of laps. But I think it's going to be more of the same of what we got to see in heat number 1. I mean, really, Gael Valero, I think, knows at this point that he is the fastest in terms of just raw pace. But Evandro Dantas, what we got to see earlier, doing a pretty good job as well. Mauricio Lozano, until that final incident that he had, was doing absolutely amazing. So I think our top 3 have a great shot of really anyone at this point in the top 3, kind of switching it up as long as they time their pit stop smart. Really, again, TCR AMX10 all season long has come down to mistakes, has come down to strategy. So it is still more of the same out here. Mugello, still only lap number 3, and it's already been a lot more action happening in heat 2 as it has been in heat 1. I mean, I think that's really been the theme of AMX 10. Seems like these drivers come out with a vengeance for heat number 2.
Yes, they know it's their last opportunity of the night to pick up a nice prize and to warrant their efforts here in AMX 10 as they are rounding through the final couple of corners now. It's all still very close for the race lead. Dantas leads Valero, but Gael's pace is just extraordinary in that Audi. He's usually a man known for his Fords. It's extraordinary in the Audi, and he's looking to go for the race lead in towards the final corner. He's not even waiting for the long run down towards Santanato. That's how confident he is in his pace. He will just stay in front, and he will get in front of Evandro Dantas. Can Dantas look to attack, though, down towards the right-hander? That Audi has the highest top speed of the field, the monster slipstream that you get towards the apex of the first corner here at the Autodromo Internazionale del Mugello is unbelievable. But it matters not really, because you can see the top speed there on the left, 227 kilometers per hour for Gael Valero, 220 for Evandro Dantas. Not even close.
Right there, that just goes to show from the Hondas not really being able to get as much top speed out here. So, I mean, it's quite a battle of the complete opposites. I'm starting to think if any of these drivers now are going to keep this in mind moving forward with the other AMX 10 races. Hey, if we're going to have some absolute long straights, do I go in for the Audi to be able to get more top speed? Or do I really go in and try to get it on these tighter turns? But like we said out here, Mugello not really having that much tighter turns. Everything's pretty big sweepers. And I think that's really paid off so far for Gael Valero out here in the Audi. Nonetheless, I'm sure he could be able to do it in equal machinery in the Honda as well. But like I said, part of it just comes down to the strategy. If you know you're going to be better on some of the big sweeping turns, why not take advantage of that? Also really just playing into his style out here too. So definitely a great choice between all these drivers. But like I said, our top 3, anything can still happen. That we got to see all the way down to the final lap in heat number 1.
Yeah, but it's Audi leading 3 Hondas and then the rest of the Hyundai field. So the Hyundai, if there's anyone from Hyundai watching, look away because it's not good showing. The Hyundai from 5th down, the other 2 manufacturers dominating this one and blocking out the podium. Lap 4 of 15, still plenty to go here in this race. Still plenty of pit stops to go in this race as well. We've had a couple who have come into the pit lane. Those who have pit are not currently showing on my timing screen, which is peculiar, so apologies for that. But one who has just pulled in is Maurizio Lozano, who we're looking at now.
Yeah, it's looking like Pedro Dean and Bruno De Carmo might be out of this race. Not sure if they're having a bit of connection issues on their end. So unfortunate, as Bruno De Carmo looked like he was in a very good spot out here for heat number 2. Of course, now it's going to be up to the other Delinta Esports drivers to really get up and try to make some move happens. Of course, Lozano, Jackson Asenge, Victor Miranda now might be leading this as they go out. But again, Gael Valero, with just how much pace he's shown out here today, could very much be getting the overcut working for him. We got to see it happen in heat number 1, and good chance that it'll happen again in heat number 2. But like we said, Evandro Dantas now falling about a 1.5 seconds behind, not really able to put the pressure on Valero and really having to watch his mirrors for Gaston Coulavi right behind him.
Yeah, Dantas, I should say, has driven a good start to the race. Oh, a little bit of picked up is hot on his heels heading for the Arrabbiatas, and yeah, you can just see Coulavi just looks a lot more confident, doesn't he?
Yeah, like we've seen, I mean, in heat number 1, Coulavi definitely the more aggressive driver, as we can just see him getting right into the back bumper of Evandro Dantas. So that's one thing that we've seen from Coulavi, an extremely aggressive driver, and sometimes that pays off for you, sometimes it turns into an incident. As right now, ooh, getting checked up, the nose getting cut off of Coulavi. So right here, Evandro Dantas saying, you know what, I'm not going to be having any of that. You're going to have to work for this pass if you really want it. So really great defensive moves from Dantas there in 2nd place. But like we've seen, Coulavi now, if he has the patience to just wait until the home straight, or he's going to make the move right here into the final curve. Late on the brakes, trying to make it, but we'll see if we get the switch back from Evandro Dantas right here. Ooh, looking like there might have been a little bit of contact as they go side by side now. Coulavi dropping down, sliding in behind, but once again, the draft being absolutely crucial out here. About 0.3 seconds. Will he have enough? I'm not sure. Evan, I think Kulavi might just have to, it might have paid off a little bit more if he would have just been patient until the home straight.
Yeah, there was definitely contact made between Dantas and Kulhavi, and that kind of offset Kulhavi's run on the exit of the corner. So he's just going to be patient, and there's a mistake from Dantas. That's a mistake, and that's allowed Kulhavi through. Kulhavi forced the issue. Dantas sort of had to readjust mid-corner in through the first corner, and that's allowed the Argentine up to second. So Evandro Dantas, unfortunately losing out on this occasion. Gaston Kulhavi, although didn't show much emotion on the picture-in-picture, very thankful to dispatch the Brazilian behind, and the number 4 racing for SART is now 1 spot higher in the prize pool.
Just like that as well, that battle leaving even more time for Gael Valero to get a bigger gap, now up to nearly 3.5 seconds. And like we said earlier, I think that is going to be the move for Gael Valero. Wait until the last possible moment to get in, get a very comfortable pace up in the lead, and really just slot in for that pit stop right at the last moment. So we'll have to keep an eye on him, but still the battle ensues between Gaston Kulavi and Evandro Dantas. Looking like Kulavi holding a little bit better pace out here now, about a second gap. So like you said, it's just that one mistake, and sometimes mistakes breed mistakes. So hopefully Evandro Dantas is able to shake that one off, say, you know what, I made a mistake, it's okay. Now I just got to focus on my race, run my race, just put eyes forward and come out with the podium. But like we said, our top 4 drivers still yet to take a pit stop, so that may shake things up as well.
Yes, we still are awaiting some pitters as we see the 2 teammates running around in unison. 5th for Jackson Mersenje, 6th for Victor Miranda. Here is the picture-in-picture replay, the Gaston Kulhavi overtake. And you can see... Oh, that's netcode again, isn't it? Or that's what I'd be inclined to think, but it looks very netcodey as we have 2 of those 4 into the pit lane now. Gaston Kulhavi and Evandro Dantas, the 2 drivers who are battling side by side, they're now into the pit lane, 1 and 2.
Yeah, and right there, like I said, looking from that replay, again, it may have been possible, you know, if that netcode just said, hey, there might have been a little bit of contact. So we'll have to see. I'm sure I'm not going to really... I feel bad for the KARA right now, because I have a feeling that some of these drivers may be putting in some protests, as we see right there. Vic Miranda now passing some of these drivers. So Gaston Kulavi, Evandro Dantas. Now here comes Jackson SNJ as well. Who else? Mauricio Lozano. So now the things are getting heating up just a little bit. Mauricio Lozano trying to hold it on to the outside. Will he be able to do it? Had pretty good pace going into there, but not just the number 4 of Gaston Kulavi able to hold on to that position. Things getting pretty close there. And now, Evan, things are starting to heat up as we are about halfway through heat number 2.
Yes, we're reaching the halfway mark. We are almost there for the conclusion of tonight's action, but still a lot of great battles to happen. This is Gaston Kulhavi versus Maurizio Lozano. And I think if Lozano ends up side by side with someone, Kevin, I can't imagine he's going to be the most friendliest after what he's been involved in tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Like we're seeing, just even around some of these corners, he's really just pushing it hard. It'd be interesting to see with these drivers in these cars. I mean, right now, it's roughly 30-minute heats out here, but if they were even 15 minutes longer, I mean, how that would start to really affect their tire degradation. So,
hold on, Kevin, we don't get paid enough for that.
Out on track. Yeah. I mean, that would, that'd be crazy. I mean, I'm sure the drivers would, I don't know if they'd be happy or not happy about that. I think it'd be more of the same of what we've already seen. You know, Gael Valero taking advantage of that. Some of these drivers getting into some extreme incidents out there. A bit more contact going on than maybe they would like. A bit of netcode, unfortunately. But nonetheless, we still have about 7 more laps out here going down. Jackson Ascension, we get checking up back on the 2 Delinta Esports drivers. Of course, Jackson leading over Victor Miranda. So those guys going to be happy. Both of them hopefully trying to get up into a podium position. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see. Your top 2 drivers still yet to take a pit stop.
I suppose the formats of races is actually an interesting talking point, and it can affect some drivers, I suppose, results. Some drivers obviously love longer formats, and some love maybe sprint races. So to succeed in AMX, you've got to kind of be a little bit diverse, and I suppose that's where Gael Valero comes out on top. He's great over any format, and that is why he picks up the big prizes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the being able to hop in any car, any type of race format, and be consistent. I mean, I think that's really where we've seen some of these other drivers. I know we got to see one driver that we haven't really seen in AMX10, Peter Zuba, but he is one of those that does a lot better. We've seen in the endurance races. So like you said, different formats for different drivers. Some drivers like Gael Valero, consistent throughout all of them. Some of them putting down a little bit better in some classes over others. I know one driver, like we said, not out here today. I've seen chat asking what happened to Guinness, what happened to Harrison. So unfortunately, we haven't seen Guinness out here all day, and Kieran Harrison, we got to see absolutely dominating it out at Imola earlier on, unfortunately dropping out for the doubleheader race. But like I said, with those guys not being out here, some of them that are really good in the TCR cars has also really just helped out Gael Valero that much more. Like I said, I'm not going to take anything away from Gael Valero because we've seen season after season him being an absolute beast out here, winning back-to-back championships. But like I said, out here, still looking a little bit bored. The domination from Gael Valero out here at Mugello. He's going to be glad to get the money, glad to get the points. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see, as next week we'll be returning for the AMX 15 Mini Enduro. Of course, the GTP class always going to be putting on a great show out at Monza. So everyone make sure to tune in next week for that one.
I thought you were going to break out into a bit of an Elvis solo there. 1 for the money, 2 for the points. But no, we are back in Italy next week at Monza for the AMX 15 race. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn the notifications on, because why in the world would you want to miss that? That'll be thoroughly entertaining. There will be a larger grid than this, I can almost guarantee it, because drivers love the GTPs, especially that name that we mentioned, Peter Zuba. He adores GTP cars. He always raced them. If he could race GTPs every day, he would be a happy man. And Peter, I'm sure, will be looking for a win, as well as his fellow Hungarians Tamás Simon and David Todt, who always love a bit of an endurance format, so make sure you do check out that one. Here are the two Brazilians, though. Victor Miranda, Jackson Resende, still just sort of following each other around. Miranda ahead of Resende. But these are provisionally your race leaders, but I think Valero might still come out in front, because that is a monster gap he has over these guys in 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, with about a 31-32 second gap over these guys, that might just be enough time for him to come out in front. But also, speaking of next weekend, hopefully we get to see a lot more teams out here. Like I said, the GTPs, that's one of those classes. So many people, especially out at Monza on that track. I expect it to be a great battle. Anytime there's bigger prizes, that always draws more of a crowd, draws more of a grid out here too. So one thing that we should expect, usually that's when some of the red line drivers come out. Some of the guys, like we've seen from Race Clutch, some of the guys out here, I mean, really, a lot of the top teams, top drivers coming out for some of these endurance races, trying to put their hand in the prize pool, shake things up a bit from the drivers that are here every single week in and week out. But nonetheless, going to be some great battles going on. I know we had the likes last season. We had our AMX 20 overall winner for that, David Toth, which, again, great in the GTPs. But here, it's back to what's on at our screen right now. Number 8 of Mauricio Lozano, still trying to get a move over Gaston Calabi. And here we see the pit exit, Diego Villarreal dropping down a few positions.
Lozano not able to go for the move on Gaston Kilhavy. Just on next week as well, and Redline racing. There's no Formula 1, so you know who might turn up. Make sure you tune in. Maurizio Lozano is now pressuring Gaston Kilhavy to extortionate amounts. Valero leads still. He's now the only man yet to pit, but he does have a 31.5 second margin over Victor Miranda. Obviously he does have to pit, but I think 31.7 seconds is the largest lead we've potentially ever had in AMX.
Yeah, that right there, someone's gonna have to take a screenshot of that and send it to Gael, because just, I mean,
someone go back through every
obviously
stream and figure that out.
I mean, obviously he has his relatives up. I'm sure he's seen that, but also knowing just, hey, how dominant it is. I think another driver that we have seen, which is, again, another Apex Racing driver, Aaron Vasquez, who we've seen in previous seasons racing for Drago Racing. Out on this track, he seems to be putting it down. So I would have loved to see the two teammates of Gael Valero and Aaron Vasquez really putting it down out of here. But like I said, now during the summer and fall months, a lot of the sim racing championships going on. A lot of these top drivers have other responsibilities, other duties that those go to first. Of course, whenever you're a top driver on top teams, you got to keep those sponsors happy. You got to really be racing for them. So as much as they want to be out here, it's great to see them on track. We know and we understand that we got some of those out there. So like I said, we might just have to see for future seasons, future special events that might be a brewing, exactly when some of these drivers will be coming out. But like you mentioned, yeah, we'll have to see. No Formula One next weekend, and we're going to be out here having the Super Formulas out at the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout. So Super Formulas, you know, you have a sim racing Formula One driver that loves to hop in from time to time. Who could ask for a better combination? So Evan, we might have to definitely wait and see who joins the grid next weekend.
Also, sorry, we're not guaranteeing that he's going to be here. Myself and Kevin don't quite have his personal phone number to guarantee that for you, but, you know, 2 + 2 = 4, etc., etc. 37 seconds is how long it took Victor Miranda in the pit lane. So if we were to go off that, Valero would come out in second. The only thing is Gael has to put in a lot less fuel, because he'll only be putting in 2-3 laps worth of fuel almost at this point. So I think he could still be okay. 32.2 seconds is what he has got the gap up to now. It will keep increasing, because obviously the tyre deg is absolutely fine until the end of the race. We're on lap 11 out of 15, and the two Delente boys are working together to just try and minimise that gap, and to get in front of the Frenchman once he is in and out.
And also, speaking of next weekend, so we will be back as well next Saturday with AMX 0 and AMX 5. Once again, everyone, if you want to just get in here, have some fun, try to see what you can do against some of these drivers, AMX 0, completely free to everyone. We're going to be heading it back over to Okayama. So a great track for some of these lower horsepower. Well, we're going to be in the shorter layout. So the shorter layout being a great track for what's going to be in the Volkswagen Jetta. So still going to be in a front-wheel drive vehicle. Like I said myself, hey, it can really shake things up if you're used to rear-wheel drive vehicles or not. But that should be a fun time out there, as well as followed by AMX 5 right after shortly in the Super Formulas at the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke. So great time, as well as we already mentioned, next Sunday, the GTP cars, LMDH, whatever you want to call them, the hypercars, going to be putting on a great show as well.
We only mentioned the name. Aaron Vasquez has appeared in one of the stream chats saying that Valero is on it, and the Spaniard will know well what Gael is capable of, racing him here in AMX and in other championships in the past, and it's always a brilliant fight to see those two. So we're looking at Gael. Is he getting a little bit complacent? Running a bit wide through Araviata 1. look at the amount of sort of tire tracks on the exit of Araviata 2, turn number 9, by the way. That is absolutely hilarious. The amount of drivers that have ran wide through that corner. Gael still needs to come into the pit lane, but he could still be in front. It really is almost just a waiting game at this point. It's like waiting for the New Year's countdown. The hours before it are kind of just moments of anticipation for that big moment, and that is what we're waiting on here. No fireworks, though.
Yeah, with that, I mean, that'd be a great thing to see out here. But like I said, this Gael Valero being dominant out here. We mentioned it earlier. I don't know if Aaron was watching the stream yet, but definitely we love to see him get back out here. We saw him last time. Is now Gael Valero hitting the pit lane, looking like he definitely has over a kilometer gap between himself and Victor Miranda. So with these guys out here, no doubt, over 30 seconds. He has plenty of time. Should not be sweating at all. Get in there, get a splash and dash, and get back out into the lead.
Yes, here comes Victor Miranda and Jackson Mercedes heading through Busin, the last corner here. Yeah, unfortunately, folks, this one isn't even going to be close. This guy Valera's just exited the pit lane. Miranda and Mercedes are just crossing past the pit lane line now. Gael Valero has a comfortable lead in this race. It'll be 4 or 5 seconds, I reckon, as he's braking for San Donato 4.0. So yeah, 4 seconds between Valero, Miranda and Resenje. If Gael made a mistake, though, it will all swap and change, but the Frenchman has been on it from start to finish tonight, and he doesn't plan on lifting off that limit anytime soon. And he will be a man who will be taking part in some of the Mugello festivities. Obviously, we had our little fun fact about the farms earlier. There's another fun fact, and would you believe the Mugello, they don't like to sleep. There is actually a goal every Saturday night in MotoGP weekend, which is literally to make as much noise as possible. And that is it.
Well, that's, I mean, I'd love to experience that in real life. Like I said, hey, definitely going to have to get my passport, go out through a tour. I'm always one of those people that, as much as it's great to see these historic places, see a lot of the scenery, I'm much more one of those that I'd love to go to special events. So, of course, you know, the Monaco Grand Prix would be one of those that amazing. Not sure if I have enough money to attend that, but hey, one of these days one can dream to attend that. As well as, you know, a lot of just different places out here. MotoGP at Mugello, of course, really going to the 24-hour of Le Mans. So many places that would be lovely to see, lovely events. But right now, still out here, lap 13 of 15. Gael Valero still leading it by nearly 4 seconds. Victor Miranda in second, Jackson Asenje in third. And right now, the battle brewing again between these two. Things that got a little bit heated, a little bit dicey earlier on, especially in heat number 1. Gaston Coulavi, Mauricio Lozano. We had that incident in heat number 1. Let's see if Lozano is going to be able to have a bit of payback here. And the best payback, of course, is beating your opponents.
Yeah, don't think that Maurizio is going to hold back here. He certainly does not have a memory of a goldfish, and he will remember what happened to him in the latter stages of heat number 1. He'll be going for this one here in heat number 2, down towards the first corner. Maybe not on this lap, but certainly on the last lap, when Mauricio Lozano, the Mexican, versus Gaston Coulavi, the Argentine. It is a Central versus South American battle, and Lozano is not going to let it commence just yet. Coulavi, though, you can see a little bit scared under the braking. There was a slight defensive maneuver there.
Like that, like we said, the battle heating up right now. The number 4 of Coulavi really have to play defense with his life right now. So we can see just absolute concentration between these two drivers. Again, they have just under 2 laps to make something happen out here. Gaston Coulavi, we've seen on the attack in heat number 1, now having to be on the defensive end of this. So it can really still be anyone's game at this point. Anything can happen, like we've seen all day long, especially out on the TCR vehicles. Early on, we've seen Evandro Dantas. Even just the slightest mistake out here from either of these drivers is going to be make or break out here for heat number 2. Although they're not battling for a podium, they still have a bit of a grudge match to settle out here in heat number 2.
Here we go then. We're going to be starting the last lap of this evening's action very, very soon, and we've had it all from Imola to Mugello. We've had battles around the field. Valero has this one summed up at the front, bar his own mistake. Battles for the minor placings are still raging on, and specifically a heated one here between Gaston and Maurizio. 2 long-time names in AMX racing. Gaston Coulavi, 6th overall last season, was 2nd in season 2, which goes to show how long he's been around here in AMX. And then, of course, you can't rule out Maurizio Lozano for a surprise result whenever he's racing. For the final corner, though, he has lost a little bit of time, and he's going to need the run of a lifetime down towards Sant'Anato if he wants to try and take this position. Gael Valero starts his final lap of the race, or still lapping quicker than everyone else, I should say. Lozano is just a tad bit off here. He's not going to be close enough.
And looking at the timing screen, so there we do have it. Victor Miranda, the first driver to hit almost a 2-minute flat mark. So he's under that 2-minute 1 second mark. That just shows how absolutely blazing he is whenever he can have some clean air in front of him, especially with the help of his teammate right behind him. But we have Gael Valero still leading it. Like I said, I might have called it a bit early on, but knowing how clean of a driver he is, definitely in my books, he's going to be out here winning heat number 2, making it a back-to-back. But still, the battle goes on between Mauricio Lozano, Gaston Coulavi. At this point, Evan, we're going to have to see who is going to really be late on the brakes, who's going to be a bit more aggressive. We know Coulavi may just be a slightly bit more aggressive on here as now there. Ooh, I think just, again, the slightest mistakes. Now we see Lozano dropping in time, unfortunately.
Gaston's just dipped, unfortunately. Just didn't fancy it anymore, and he's just drove out of the corners to an unbelievable standard and has absolutely dropped Maurizio in this final sector. There was no last lap battle available there, but this man, hasn't he just been phenomenal from start to finish here at Mugello? Gael Valero missed out when driving a Honda in Imola earlier, but now he's been right on the money from start to finish, and the Frenchman rounds through the final corner to continue his legacy in AMX, continue and showcase his prestige from start to finish. It's going to be 2 from 2 for Gael Valero, who will come across the line to win the final heat here in Mugello, I should say, for AMX10 Race 11. An excellent performance there from him. Victor Miranda will come home in second. Jackson Resenje will come home in third. Gaston Kilhavy ahead of Maurizio Lozano in fourth and fifth.
And just a beautiful display on there, showing that patience and really, I mean, just his consistency, why he has been back-to-back champions, why he's been overall champion already. Looking, again, no doubt that he has it in him to make it this season out here, season 6. So, I mean, we might already have to be looking towards season 7 to see if anyone's going to be able to dethrone Gael Valero. But like I said, a lot of these, it's great to see the performance from all of our drivers out here. Mugello, we had a few crazy incidents, a bit of chaos in heat number 1 and the beginning of heat number 2, but nonetheless, putting on a great show out here in Italy.
Yes, here is your final results of tonight. Gael Valero, your BenQ session winner. Victor Miranda in second. Jackson Resenje in third. Gaston Kilhavy in fourth. Maurizio Lozano in fifth. Evandro Dantas in sixth. Diogo Villarreal in seventh. Pedro Dean in eighth. And Bruno De Carmo in ninth. Fastest lap went to Victor Miranda. So Gael not able to take the clean sweep necessarily. And I imagine we will have your full race results coming up in a couple of moments. But Kevin, an interesting evening all round.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I mean, we might have to see what's going on. The format out here, I mean, definitely playing into the hands of Gael Valero so far. We've had some driver feedback this season as well. I mean, of course, every single season we always try to make things a little bit different, try to switch it up just a little bit. But nonetheless, Gael Valero out here. Big congratulations to him. Let's see if we might be able to get anyone in the, well, not anyone. I mean, we might want to hear from Gael Valero himself in the interview room to see what he has to say on this.
Next
Again,
week.
I've said I sound like a broken record at this point, but you know, you love to win, but at the same time, he looked a little bit bored coming across the checkered flag. I think that's the first time I've seen from him. Like I said, definitely going to have to see what he has to say, Evan.
Yes, we will. We won't be able to hear from him this week, but hopefully we can hear from Gael after future race weeks, potentially after AMX 15 next week. But brilliant evening of action here in the TCRs, the AMX 10 Championship double race evening. That, I suppose, spices up the AMX 10 order nicely. Gael Valero was fourth coming into tonight. I, without a doubt, would say that he is absolutely leading it. Himself and Kieran Harrison, they seem to be in a little bit of a Loctite battle now. But obviously, if Martin Cadez and Dino Felipe to come back as well. And I suppose, Kevin, that bodes nicely for our TCR action for the rest of the season.
Definitely so. Like I said, we still got it, switching it up every other Sunday. So next Sunday, we will not be out here in the TCR vehicles. We will be back with the GTP for our mini enduro. We had a great start of the season last weekend. I expect it to be more of the same next week. And of course, now getting away from the GT3s, that will be the difference next week. But nonetheless, I know Monza is always a bit chaotic, a bit crazy, makes one of the most entertaining tracks out there.
The Temple of Speed hosted the Italian Grand Prix, hosted the 6 Hours of Monza. I'm pretty sure hosted a WRC stage once upon a time. It is a brilliant track, and that will provide for our mini enduro next week in AMX 15. And then, of course, we have the Super Formulas at the Nürburgring as well. So there'll be plenty of action to keep you entertained throughout the next couple of weeks. A reminder, folks, to check out all our social medias, of course, below. or well, you will see them below in a couple of moments. We will have plenty of action over there. Make sure to rewatch all the old races to get prepared for the next couple of weeks action. And if you want to race in that next couple of weeks action, you can do so on amxrace.com. Let's have a look at our results then from tonight and see who is our evening winner. It is, of course, Gael Valero who wins tonight's evening heats. Victor Miranda then in second, and Jackson Resenge in third. Gaston Kilhavy in fourth, Maurizio Lozano in fifth, Bruno De Carmo, despite us not even really seeing him in the last heat, is able to take sixth ahead of Evandro Dantas in seventh, Pedro Dean in eighth, and Diogo Villarreal in ninth position. Gael was on a different level tonight, Kevin.
Oh, definitely. Like we said, he made it look too easy out here. Far too often. We got to see Kieran Harrison early on. I was really looking forward to the battle coming out to Mugello from Kieran Harrison and Gael Valero. But unfortunately, Kieran Harrison only here for half of the doubleheader today. Like we said, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Next time we'll be out in the TCR cars. Our TCR World Tour will be heading it over to the United States. I'm getting really excited for that one because I believe that whole weekend we have pretty much an entire weekend of races in the USA, as well as going to be switching it up a bit. I think on the calendar saw a bit of IndyCar action going on, as well as some of the pro light trucks. So definitely going to be a weekend that everyone should tune into.
If a weekend of IndyCar and pro light trucks doesn't whet your appetite nicely, folks, I don't really know what else we can do. That is all we do have time for here on AMX Tonight, folks. It's been a pleasure to have you alongside us. From Kevin, who's been alongside me, and from myself, Evan, it has been great. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time. Bye-bye.